and welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into a topic that truly ignites curiosity and, well, it really has the power to transform lives: study abroad. For this deep dive, we've pulled together a fascinating stack of insights. We're weaving in compelling research, some insightful facts, and, some truly relatable real-life stories.
Yeah, the personal stories really bring it to life.
Exactly. Our mission to really unpack the profound benefits and the inherent challenges of this incredible journey, and along the way, offer some advanced English listening practice.
It's definitely an area where the dream, the romantic idea often meets the practical realities.
Yeah.
And understanding both sides is just, it's undeniably crucial for anyone considering this path. We're going to explore why millions are opting to pursue their education beyond their home countries, what they truly gain from it sometimes in surprising ways, and of course the intricate hurdles they skillfully navigate. Our aim is really to provide you with a very clear, nuanced picture that goes beyond the glossy brochures.
Right, beyond the highlights. By the end of our conversation, you're going to have a much deeper understanding of what makes studying abroad such a game changer, and more importantly, what it genuinely takes to make it a resounding success. So let's embark on this illuminating journey.
Okay, let's set the scene, shall we? When many of us think about studying abroad, what often comes to mind are those idyllic, almost cinematic images. You might picture yourself perhaps sipping a warm cup of coffee in like a charming Parisian cafe.
Sounds lovely.
Surrounded by the gentle murmur of French, all while reviewing your notes for an upcoming exam. Or maybe you envision yourself navigating the vibrant, bustling streets of Tokyo, just soaking in the unique energy as you make your way to your university campus. These are powerful, aspirational images.
Yeah.
And for good reason.
They certainly are. It's a decision that feels simultaneously thrilling, deeply daunting, and undeniably transformative. It conjures images of adventure, new beginnings, maybe even a touch of glamour. But it's vital to recognize that for the millions of students worldwide who embark on this path, it's about far more than just earning a degree. It's truly an entry point, a gateway to entirely new cultures,
right,
diverse perspectives you might never encounter otherwise, and unparalleled opportunities that simply wouldn't exist back home. It's about a complete reorientation of your worldview, really.
That's a receptive way to put it, a reorientation. And while those postcard perfect moments certainly happen, it's also important to present a balanced view. It's not all serene cafe mornings and exciting city lights. This journey comes with its significant share of hurdles, and sometimes they appear sooner than you'd expect. We're talking about everything from the very real emotional challenges of homesickness, which can, strike when you least anticipate it.
Oh, yeah.
To the often complex and sometimes frustrating world of visa regulations and bureaucratic paperwork, just endless forms sometimes.
Definitely.
These are genuine obstacles that students must learn to navigate. And how they navigate them is often where the real growth happens.
So let's dive into the sheer scale of this phenomenon then. The concept of international education has truly exploded in popularity over the past few decades. This isn't just like a fleeting trend, it's a growing global phenomenon that continues to redefine higher education.
It really is.
Consider this. In 2020 alone, an astonishing figure of over 6 million students were enrolled in higher education institutions outside their home countries. 6 million. And what's particularly striking is that this number continues to climb steadily, even amidst global disruptions like pandemics or, economic downturns that might make you think otherwise.
Yeah, you'd expect it to dip, but it doesn't seem to.
Exactly. This enduring appeal really demonstrates its profound underlying significance.
It certainly does, and the trajectory is compelling. When we look at those 6 million students, the key drivers behind this surge are quite clear. Globalization, for one, has made the world feel much smaller and more interconnected, sort of dissolving traditional borders in education.
Right.
Then there's the vastly improved access to information. Students can easily research and discover opportunities across continents with just a few clicks now.
It's all online.
Pretty much. But arguably one of the most compelling reasons, and maybe a less obvious one for many, is the competitive advantage it offers in the job market. Employers increasingly seek individuals with global mindsets and cross-cultural competencies.
That makes sense.
Making international experience a significant, almost indispensable differentiator. It's about demonstrating skills that are, frankly, hard to teach in a traditional classroom setting.
To give you a truly tangible sense of this, let's consider Priya. She's a 22-year-old from India who made the bold move to Canada to pursue her master's degree in environmental science.
Okay.
Priya shared that she grew up in a small town where opportunities were quite limited, particularly in her specialized field, which made the idea of studying abroad not just appealing, but, well, a crucial step for her aspirations.
A necessity almost.
Right. What's striking about Priya's experience is how studying in Canada genuinely opened doors she hadn't even imagined. She found herself collaborating on extensive, cutting-edge research projects, securing invaluable internships with leading environmental organizations.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And building a vast global network with people from all corners of the world, something she simply couldn't have achieved back home.
Priya's story is a powerful illustration, yeah. And her journey is far from unique. When we analyze the demographics behind those 6 million international students, it becomes clear that students from countries like India, China, and Nigeria, for example, constitute a substantial portion of this global population.
Interesting.
They're often driven by a shared, multi-layered ambition. Yes, to access quality education and specialized programs that might not be available at home.
Sure, the academic part.
But also to gain that crucial global exposure and develop a skill set that sets them apart in an increasingly interconnected professional landscape. Her experience really helps us contextualize this widespread, intentional trend.
So when we talk about the significant investment of time, money, and let's face it, courage.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of courage.
What are the actual returns for you, the individual considering this path?
Well, studying abroad offers a truly compelling mix of academic, personal, and professional advantages. It's a holistic package, really. A transformation that touches pretty much every facet of your being. Indeed. Let's delve into that multifaceted return. First, there's the undeniable academic enhancement. International universities very frequently boast cutting-edge programs, truly world-class faculty, and specialized resources that are simply unavailable in many home countries.
Top facilities.
Exactly.
Yep.
We're not just talking about prestige here, but about genuine academic innovation. A study conducted back in 2018, for instance, highlighted that an impressive 87% of study abroad alumni reported a significant improvement in their academic skills.
87%, that's high.
It is. And this isn't just about absorbing new facts. It's about refining how you learn, how you approach problems, how you engage with knowledge, often due to exposure to diverse pedagogical methods, different ways of teaching. It's like a fundamental rewiring of your intellectual framework.
That's an important distinction. The method of learning itself evolves, and beyond the classroom, there's the profound personal cultivation. Stepping outside one's comfort zone, as study abroad inherently requires, actively fosters independence, resilience, and adaptability in ways few other experiences can.
Oh, definitely.
Think about it. The daily process of navigating entirely unfamiliar systems, from figuring out public transport in a new city to understanding a different healthcare system or, banking regulations, it builds invaluable life skills that stay with you long after you've returned home.
Right.
You learn to solve problems on the fly, often without a safety net, and that builds incredible self-reliance.
And that personal growth seamlessly transitions into distinct career advantages. Employers, almost universally, place high value on candidates who possess international experience. It's a powerful signal.
It stands out on a resume.
It really does. A survey from 2017 revealed that a significant 64% of employers specifically appreciated the intercultural skills that candidates acquired through studying abroad. This provides a distinct and often decisive edge in an increasingly globalized job market. It shows initiative, adaptability, and a broader understanding of diverse work environments, traits which are highly sought after.
It's a clear signal to employers that you're capable of more than just academic achievement. And then there's the deep cultural immersion, which goes far beyond merely trying new foods, though that's certainly a delightful perk.
Can't deny the food part.
Right. It's about experiencing and truly understanding the world through a completely different lens. This deep dive into another culture profoundly fosters empathy and a heightened sense of global awareness. You begin to understand the subtle nuances of human interaction, the underlying values that shape different societies, and the interconnectedness of global issues in a way that simply reading about them can't replicate.
To give you an early glimpse of how these benefits and challenges intertwine, let's consider Maria. She's a 20-year-old from Brazil who opted for Germany for her undergraduate engineering degree.
Okay, Germany.
A significant draw for her, as she candidly shared, was Germany's tuition-free universities for public institutions. This made quality education remarkably accessible, especially when contrasted with the much higher costs typically found in countries like the US or the UK.
Big difference.
Huge. It highlights that affordability can indeed be a practical and powerful motivator, shaping a student's entire journey.
And it wasn't all smooth sailing for Maria, was it, despite the financial upside?
Not at all. She openly discussed the initial reality check she faced, particularly with the language barrier. Learning German to simply navigate daily life and academic demands was a formidable task, she recalled, often feeling like she was perpetually a step behind.
That sounds tough.
Yeah, and she even chuckled about the demanding bureaucracy, all the paperwork required for everything from housing registration to setting up a bank account.
The bureaucracy. Always fun.
Right. Maria's experience perfectly sets the stage, though, underscoring both the remarkable opportunities and the very tangible hurdles that await those who choose this path. It's not just about the destination, it's the journey, complete with its unexpected twists and turns.
That's the beauty of these real-life stories. They add that depth and texture to the picture we're painting. Now, let's truly unpack the profound benefits of studying abroad because, as we mentioned, it truly is like signing up for a crash course in life. The advantages extend significantly beyond just academic learning, shaping you into a more confident, capable, and globally minded individual in ways you might not foresee.
Okay, so kicking us off is the undeniable academic excellence and the opportunities for innovation it provides. One of the biggest draws for many students is the access to premier education. When you look at global university rankings, institutions in countries like the US, the UK, Canada, Australia, they consistently top those lists, attracting top-tier talent from all over the world.
The big names.
Right. But it's not simply about the prestige of the name on the diploma. It's about the unique educational environment they offer.
That's a crucial distinction. Beyond the reputation, international programs often place a strong emphasis on hands-on learning, which fosters critical thinking and nurtures innovation in a way that traditional lecture-based learning might not.
Right, like problem-based learning, maybe?
Exactly, or interdisciplinary projects, or capstone experiences that push you to apply knowledge in real-world contexts. What's particularly compelling is the opportunity for groundbreaking research. A study from 2019, for example, showed that international students notably contribute to innovation in their host countries.
Oh, interesting.
Especially in STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, where cross-border collaboration is becoming increasingly vital.
Makes sense.
For students themselves, this translates into unparalleled access to state-of-the-art laboratories, significant research grants, and crucial mentorship from leading scholars in their fields, accelerating their development in profound ways.
That's a powerful combination. And then there's the exposure to diverse academic philosophies. Studying abroad isn't just about learning new subjects. It introduces you to a wide array of academic approaches and teaching methodologies.
Styles.
Exactly. For instance, you might find that European universities often prioritize independent research, encouraging students to delve deep into self-corrected projects and intellectual inquiry. Meanwhile, institutions in the US might emphasize group projects, active class participation, and a more interactive, discussion-based learning style.
So you get a mix.
Yeah, this blend, this exposure to different ways of thinking and learning really sharpens your intellectual flexibility and adaptability, makes you a more versatile and well-rounded academic.
A great example of this is Ahmed, a 24-year-old from Egypt who pursued a PhD in renewable energy at the University of Melbourne in Australia.
Okay, Melbourne.
He described the labs there as unreal, boasting state-of-the-art equipment and access to funding for projects he could only dream of back home. Ahmed's research on solar panel efficiency didn't just lead to a patent.
Oh, a patent.
It also secured him a job offer from a major Australian energy firm. He recalled feeling a profound sense of accomplishment and creative freedom that ignited his passion for his field even further.
That's incredible.
Ahmed's story powerfully illustrates how studying abroad can genuinely accelerate both academic and professional success, turning potential into tangible breakthroughs and even groundbreaking discoveries.
Ahmed's story is truly inspiring, showing the tangible outcomes of those advanced research opportunities.
But it's not just about what you learn in the lab or classroom, is it?
Not at all. Let's move on to perhaps one of the most transformative aspects, personal growth and the path to becoming a true global citizen. Living abroad is an unparalleled masterclass in developing independence.
It genuinely is. From managing foreign currency to navigating subtle and sometimes perplexing cultural norms, you are continuously learning to adapt and thrive in entirely new settings. It forces you to become incredibly self-reliant, often quicker than you would at home.
Right. A study from 2021 revealed that an impressive 92% of study abroad students reported enhanced self-confidence and significantly improved problem-solving abilities. 92%.
It's almost everyone.
Pretty much. Think about it. Being solely responsible for your own cooking, meticulously budgeting your finances in a new currency, managing your time without constant reminders from home, and handling unexpected challenges like a lost passport or a forgotten train ticket. It builds truly significant character and practical life skills.
Yeah.
You realize what you're capable of when pushed.
And it's not just about managing logistics. There's a deeper cognitive and emotional shift, isn't there?
Yes, exactly. This experience also cultivates deep cultural competence. Consistent daily interaction with people from diverse backgrounds naturally fosters deeper empathy and an open-minded perspective.
Which is so important today.
Absolutely. In our increasingly interconnected world, this isn't just a beneficial trait. It's an essential skill. You learn to appreciate and understand different ways of life, different perspectives on time, communication, even conflict resolution. It broadens your own worldview in profound ways and helps you navigate complex social situations with more grace.
And through it all, you build incredible resilience. Confronting challenges such as language barriers, unexpected bureaucratic hurdles, or the inevitable pangs of homesickness teaches you how to rebound and grow stronger from adversity.
Every obstacle overcome.
Exactly. It's a step towards greater self-assurance and an expanded capacity for coping with life's curveballs. Sarah's transformation in Japan is a perfect illustration here.
Okay, Sarah in Japan.
She was a 19-year-old from the U.S. who spent a year studying in Kyoto. Sarah admitted that she was quite shy and anxious before she left, often avoiding new social situations. But Japan, she said, compelled her to step up.
Forced her out of her shell.
Totally. Whether it was summoning the courage to ask for directions in basic Japanese or taking the plunge to join a local tea ceremony club where she knew no one, she was constantly pushing her boundaries, driven by curiosity and, well, a desire to connect.
That takes guts.
It does. What's truly remarkable is that by the end of her program, Sarah wasn't only fluent in Japanese, but she also possessed a newfound confidence that directly propelled her into a job at an international nonprofit. She found her voice not just in a new language, but within herself.
Wow.
Her narrative powerfully underscores the profound personal growth initiated by studying abroad. It's not just a year, it's a lifetime of changed perspective, where a once timid individual blossoms into a globally minded and self-assured professional.
That newfound confidence, that cultural dexterity, these are precisely the traits that translate directly into distinct career advantages in today's highly competitive global job market. International experience is truly a unique and highly sought-after asset. Employers consistently place high value on the skills acquired abroad, which include adaptability, cross-cultural communication, and that vital global awareness that signals a candidate is ready for a diverse workforce.
A report from 2020 indicated that a striking 73% of UK employers considered international experience a pivotal factor in their hiring decisions. 73%.
That's huge.
It's a massive endorsement, suggesting it can often be the tiebreaker in a competitive pool of candidates. And it makes perfect sense because one of the immediate benefits is expanding your global network.
Right, the connections.
You establish invaluable connections with fellow students, professors, professionals from across the globe. These relationships can potentially open doors to internships, employment, or even future collaborations down the line, a professional web that spans continents.
That's a huge strategic advantage. Then there's the acquisition of language skills. Even if complete fluency isn't achieved, merely picking up a new language, even to a conversational level, significantly enhances your resume.
Shows effort.
It does. Beyond the practical communication, it signals cognitive flexibility and dedication. A survey from 2019 actually found that bilingual candidates were 30% more likely to receive callbacks for job interviews.
30% more likely.
Yeah, underscoring the tangible value employers place on this ability. Furthermore, studying abroad significantly helps in honing essential soft skills. problem solving, effective teamwork, cultural sensitivity. These are skills significantly developed abroad as you navigate complex situations and diverse group dynamics.
You're living it daily.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're in incredibly high demand across a multitude of industries, making you a more well-rounded and desirable candidate.
A great example of this is Lynn, a 23-year-old from China who pursued business studies at the University of Manchester in the UK.
Manchester, okay.
She recounted how the intensive group projects, which involved classmates from places as diverse as Nigeria, Brazil, and Germany, taught her invaluable cross-cultural communication skills. She learned firsthand how different cultures approach deadlines, feedback, conflict.
Things you don't get from books.
Right. Insights that are almost impossible to gain from a textbook. It was hands-on, real-world application of navigating diverse perspectives. After graduation, Lise secured a role at a London-based consulting firm.
Nice.
And her ability to seamlessly navigate diverse teams truly distinguished her in a competitive global market. Her experience clearly demonstrates how international study can lead to tangible career gains and open doors to roles demanding global acumen.
Lisa's story really brings to life the power of that collaborative international learning. And speaking of living a new culture, let's talk about deep cultural immersion as a window to the world. Studying abroad truly transcends mere academic pursuits.
It's so much more.
It's about experiencing and living a new culture firsthand, moving beyond the superficial observations of a tourist.
Indeed. From enthusiastically participating in vibrant local festivals, not just watching them, to savoring authentic local cuisine and neighborhood eateries, you gain an understanding of life that often completely eludes typical tourists.
You're part of it.
You're not just visiting, you're living it, breathing it, integrating into its daily rhythms. A study from 2018 found that an impressive 85% of study abroad students felt a heightened connection to global issues after their experience.
That's fascinating.
This broadened perspective means you learn to appreciate different ways of life, fostering a more open-minded and curious disposition about the world around you, allowing you to see beyond your own cultural lens.
Beyond that, you forge lifelong memories that are etched deep into your personal narrative. Whether it's the exhilaration of hiking the majestic Alps with new friends, or the warmth of celebrating Diwali with a host family in India.
Oh, lovely examples.
These moments fundamentally shape who you become, creating a mosaic of experiences that enrich your life immeasurably. And crucially, it enhances global awareness in a very personal way. Understanding complex global challenges like climate change, poverty, inequality, it becomes far more tangible and real when you witness them up close.
When you see the impact.
Exactly. When you experience their impact firsthand, rather than just reading statistics in a news report, this intimate understanding often fuels a desire for action and global citizenship.
Jamal's adventure in Spain perfectly encapsulates this profound impact. He's a 21-year-old from South Africa who delved into history studies in Barcelona.
Barcelona, great city.
He vividly described falling in love with the city's electric atmosphere. From lively tapas nights and passionate flamenco shows that pulsed with energy, to engaging political debates with his Spanish roommates that challenged his own assumptions.
Sounds amazing.
Jamal's time abroad didn't just deepen his comprehension of European history, it genuinely inspired him to pursue a career in diplomacy. Driven by a newfound appreciation for cultural dialogue and international relations, his experience truly captures the magic and profound impact of cultural immersion as a catalyst for life direction.
As wonderful as studying abroad can be, and Jamal's story is certainly wonderful and inspiring, it's crucial to remember that it's not without its complexity.
Right, the challenges.
The journey presents genuine challenges that test patience, resilience, and resourcefulness. It's important to explore these common obstacles and understand how students effectively overcome them, because foresight is really key to success.
Let's start with a big one. Financial considerations. Counting the costs can be a significant hurdle for many. Studying abroad often involves substantial expenses.
It's not cheap.
No. Tuition, housing, flights, daily living costs, they can quickly accumulate, especially if you're looking at high cost of living countries like the US or the UK. A report from 2022 estimated that the average annual cost of a year abroad for U.S. students was between $18,000 and $30,000.
$18,000 to $30,000.
Yeah, varying considerably by destination and lifestyle choices. This isn't pocket change for most people.
That range is indeed quite broad, reflecting the diversity of choices available, but even the lower end represents a significant commitment. Tuition fees themselves can be staggering. Private universities in the U.S. can exceed $40,000 annually. And even public institutions in countries like Australia or Canada, while often more affordable than the US, are still substantial investments, easily reaching $15,000, $25,000 per year.
Still a lot.
Yeah. Beyond tuition, living expenses like rent, food, and transport can dramatically impact your budget, particularly if you choose expensive urban centers like London, New York, or Sydney, where a small apartment can easily consume half your budget.
Rent is a killer.
It really is. And don't forget the unanticipated costs. Visa application fees, compulsory health insurance, textbooks. They often surprise students, adding unforeseen strain to the financial plan. These can easily add another few $1,000s.
A clear example of these financial realities is Aisha. She's a 22-year-old from Pakistan who studied computer science at a U.S. state university.
Okay.
Despite receiving a partial scholarship, she found herself needing to work part-time just to cover rent and groceries. She described it as an exhausting experience, balancing demanding coursework with her job.
That sounds incredibly tough.
But also one that was character building, honing her time management skills significantly as she learned to prioritize and manage every minute. Her story really illuminates the financial realities many students encounter and the sheer determination required to succeed when resources are tight.
Aisha's resilience is truly inspiring, and her experience highlights the need for careful planning. There are practical suggestions for managing these expenses, thankfully. Actively applying for scholarships is key. Renowned programs like Fulbright, Chevening, or Erasmus Mundus can make a huge difference, often covering tuition and living expenses.
Those big international ones.
Exactly. Another smart approach is to consider more affordable destinations. Countries like Germany, Malaysia, or Poland can offer high-quality education at a fraction of the cost found in more traditional destinations without sacrificing academic rigor.
Good point.
If your visa permits, exploring part-time work options, many countries allow up to 20 hours per week, can also significantly help offset daily expenses. And of course, meticulous budgeting is essential. Consistently tracking expenses, preparing meals at home rather than eating out.
Less takeout.
Definitely. And utilizing student discounts can save a surprising amount of money over a year.
That's solid, actionable advice. Now, let's talk about overcoming language barriers. If you're studying in a country where your native tongue isn't spoken, communication can become a very significant hurdle, far more than just, basic vocabulary.
Oh yeah, much more.
Even in English-speaking nations, regional accents, rapid speech, or highly specialized academic jargon can feel incredibly overwhelming, making it difficult to fully grasp lectures, engage in nuanced discussions, or simply feel understood.
Yeah, academic language is a whole other beast.
Right. A study from 2020 indicated that a notable 68% of international students struggled with language barriers during their initial year, emphasizing how common this experience is.
That's a high percentage, underscoring the universal nature of this challenge. These language impediments can manifest as academic issues. Writing complex essays, participating actively in class discussions, or delivering presentations in a second language can feel like a formidable, almost impossible task.
Even for smart students.
Exactly, even for academically brilliant students. Then there's the social disconnection. Difficulty in communicating effectively can really hinder your ability to form friendships, express your personality, and feel genuinely included in social circles, leading to feelings of isolation.
That would be tough.
And finally, daily life challenges, from simply ordering a meal in a noisy restaurant to navigating complex bureaucratic processes or even understanding a doctor's instructions. Language gaps can complicate even those basic activities, turning routine tasks into stressful endeavors.
Alina's language leap in France perfectly illustrates this. She's a 20-year-old from Russia who studied art history in Paris.
Paris again?
Alina admitted that her French was quite basic upon arrival, causing her to literally freeze up when trying to speak with locals, fearing mistakes and embarrassment.
You're in there.
Right. But she was proactive and determined. She enrolled in an intensive language course and consistently practiced with her host family, embracing every opportunity to stumble and learn. By her second semester, she felt sufficiently confident to even join a French book club.
Wow, a book club in French.
A truly remarkable achievement for someone who was once paralyzed by fear of speaking. Her journey clearly highlights that language barriers, while indeed formidable, are absolutely conquerable with consistent effort, a positive attitude towards making mistakes, and, well, a bit of bravery.
That effort truly pays off, and Elena's proactive approach is a blueprint for success. Effective strategies for overcoming language hurdles include enrolling in language classes both before and during your program. Consistent practice speaking with native speakers.
Just gotta do it.
Yeah, perhaps through language exchange applications or university conversation partners is also incredibly beneficial for building fluency and confidence. And crucially, cultivate patience with yourself. Acknowledging that mistakes are a natural and necessary part of the learning process can alleviate a lot of self-imposed pressure and allow you to learn more freely. Think of every mistake as a step forward.
Beyond language, there's the adjustment to culture shock. Embracing a new normal can be quite a jolt, a profound disorientation. Relocating to a new country means immersing yourself in unfamiliar social norms, values, behaviors, things that can be subtly or overtly different from your own.
Very true.
Culture shock can strike intensely, particularly during those initial months when the novelty wears off and the differences become more pronounced. A study from 2019 revealed that a considerable 75% of international students experienced moderate to severe culture shock.
75%. That's most people.
It is, making it a very common part of the journey.
It's indeed a very common and often underestimated experience. Navigating social norms can be incredibly tricky. What's considered polite in one culture might be perceived as impolite or even offensive in another. For example, direct eye contact.
Right, that varies a lot.
It's valued in the U.S. as a sign of attentiveness and honesty, whereas in some Asian cultures it could be seen as aggressive or disrespectful, particularly when interacting with elders or superiors. Then there's combating loneliness. Being distant from family and friends, especially during holidays or difficult personal periods, can lead to intense feelings of isolation and longing.
Missing home.
Yeah. And academic differences can also be a source of shock. Classroom expectations, such as participation levels, punctuality, or the hierarchy between students and professors, can vary considerably from what you're used to, impacting your academic comfort and performance.
Juan's culture shock in China really brings this home. He's a 23-year-old from Mexico who studied business in Shanghai.
Shanghai, okay.
Juan was accustomed to casual interactions with professors and a more relaxed classroom dynamic, but he found the Chinese classroom environment exceptionally formal and structured, which made him feel quite out of place and hesitant to speak up.
That must have been jarring.
To cope, Juan actively sought out opportunities to connect beyond the classroom. He joined a student club focused on traditional Chinese calligraphy, which significantly aided his understanding of Chinese customs and helped him integrate with local students.
Smart move.
By his second year, he felt truly at home, recognizing and even embracing the cultural nuances that once felt alien. His story demonstrates that culture shock diminishes with time and concerted effort, and that actively engaging with the local culture can make a huge difference.
That active engagement, coupled with an open mindset, is undeniably key. Helpful tips for managing culture shock include thoroughly researching your host country's customs and traditions before departure. Not just the big ones, but the smaller, everyday nuances.
Do your homework.
Definitely. Joining student organizations and university clubs is also incredibly beneficial, as it helps you establish a robust support network and provides opportunities for natural, organic social interaction. And maintaining an open mind is paramount. Strive to embrace differences rather than judging them, seeing them as opportunities for learning and personal growth, reminding yourself that there isn't just one right way to do things.
Now let's talk about homesickness, that powerful, often unexpected tug of what's familiar. Homesickness is a very real emotion that can surface unexpectedly, sometimes when you least expect it.
Comes in waves.
It might be triggered by something as simple as the scent of a familiar dish cooking, or perhaps by missing a significant family celebration back home, like a birthday or a holiday. A study from 2021 indicated that 60% of international students experienced homesickness, at least occasionally.
60%. Still a majority.
Showing just how common this emotional challenge is.
It carries a genuine emotional weight that can impact your overall well-being and academic focus. Feeling disconnected can lead to sadness, anxiety, or even physical symptoms like loss of appetite or sleep disturbances.
Yeah, it can really affect you.
The challenge of time zones can intensify these feelings. The difficulty of calling home when your family is asleep, or vice versa, can truly highlight the physical and emotional distance. And cultural disconnect during holidays or traditions not observed in your host country can trigger a profound longing for familiarity and belonging, making you feel acutely aware of what you're missing from home.
Sophia's homesickness in Canada is a touching and relatable example. She's a 19-year-old from Italy who studied biology in Vancouver.
Vancouver, nice.
She described her first Christmas away from home as particularly difficult. Longing for her Nana's famous lasagna and the boisterous family gatherings, while everyone else around her was talking about turkey and snow.
I can picture that.
Instead of succumbing to the sadness, Sophia coped by taking action. She hosted an Italian dinner for her dorm mates, cooking up some familiar dishes and sharing her family traditions, effectively bringing a piece of home to Canada.
That's a great idea.
Her story beautifully illustrates how creating familiar rituals or sharing your culture with new friends can genuinely alleviate homesickness and build new connections.
And those familiar rituals, that act of sharing, are powerful coping mechanisms. Strategies to combat homesickness include staying consistently connected with family via video calls or messaging applications, ensuring you don't feel entirely cut off from your support system.
Keep those connections strong.
Yeah. Actively seeking out local restaurants or communities that celebrate your culture can also provide comfort and a sense of familiarity, helping you feel grounded. And keeping yourself busy and engaged is crucial. Join clubs, explore your new country, volunteer for causes you care about, or pick up a new hobby. The more integrated and active you are in your new environment, the less space there is for longing.
Finally, we come to visa and legal hurdles. Navigating bureaucracy. These regulations and legal requirements can be a substantial source of stress, often feeling like an endless maze of paperwork.
Oh, visas, right.
Each country has distinct, often complex rules for student visas, and even minor errors or omissions can lead to serious repercussions, including delays, rejection, or, in the worst cases, deportation. A report from 2022 highlighted that visa delays and rejections were a growing concern for international students, particularly in the post-COVID era.
Oh, great, another layer.
Adding another layer of anxiety to an already challenging process.
It's a very intricate and time-sensitive process. The application process itself often demands comprehensive documentation, detailed proof of funds, official acceptance letters, extensive health checks, biometric data. It can be quite time-consuming to compile accurately.
Lots of details.
Then there are work limitations. Many countries impose strict restrictions on how much students can work during their studies, directly impacting their ability to earn money to support themselves. And the post-study options are another critical consideration. Remaining abroad after graduation typically necessitates applying for a new visa, often a skilled worker or post-study work visa, which is not always straightforward to obtain.
Right, the next step.
Adding another layer of complexity and uncertainty to future plans.
Raj's visa stress in the UK perfectly illustrates these complexities. He's a 25-year-old from India who studied data science in London.
Okay, London. Data science.
He described the Tier 4 student visa process, which is the UK's primary long-term student visa category, as intense, requiring meticulous bank statements, English proficiency tests, and a myriad of other documents, all with strict deadlines.
Sounds stressful.
Upon graduation, he faced the immediate challenge of securing a skilled worker visa to remain in the country, a process that felt even more daunting with the pressure of a job search. Raj effectively navigated this intricate system by collaborating closely with his university's international office.
Good move, using those resources.
Who provided invaluable guidance and support, ultimately securing a job that sponsored his stay. His experience spotlights the bureaucratic complexities many international students encounter and the critical importance of expert guidance.
Raj's proactive approach, combined with institutional support, saved him. Key advice for managing visa issues includes initiating the visa application process well in advance, often months before your intended departure date, and meticulously double-checking all requirements against official government websites.
Check, double check, triple check.
Pretty much. Consulting your university's international student office is invaluable. They often have expert guidance, up-to-date information on changing policies, and can help you navigate specific nuances. And most importantly, stay informed about immigration laws. Policies can change without prior warning, requiring you to adapt quickly and verify information from official sources only.
Now that we've thoroughly covered the highs and lows, the incredible benefits, and the very real challenges, let's pivot to something critical. How you can truly make studying abroad a resounding success.
Okay, the practical stuff.
Exactly. With the right preparation and, crucially, an open, adaptable mindset, you can maximize the benefits and tackle those challenges head-on, transforming obstacles into opportunities for growth.
Absolutely. It all starts with essential pre-departure preparation. First, diligently select the right program. This means thoroughly researching universities, specific courses, and countries that align perfectly with your academic and career aspirations. Don't just pick a famous name, find the best fit for you.
Right, personal fit.
Resources like QS World University Rankings or studyportals.com can be incredibly helpful in this initial phase, allowing you to compare programs across institutions and countries.
Then comes the meticulous budget planning. Accurately estimate all potential costs, right down to daily expenses like coffee or public transport, and actively explore diverse funding opportunities. Websites such as scholarshipportal.com or the DAA, the German Academic Exchange Service, list numerous scholarships specifically for international students.
Finding that funding is key,
which can be a game changer for your financial feasibility. And even before you leave, commencing language acquisition is vital. Even possessing basic conversational skills can make a significant difference upon arrival, easing your transition and boosting your confidence. Applications like Babbel or Duolingo are excellent for rapid, accessible learning in the months leading up to your departure.
And finally, cultivate cultural understanding. Beyond just facts, read books, watch engaging YouTube videos about daily life, or even connect with people from your intended host country to gain a foundational sense of its history, social norms, customs. This proactive learning reduces the initial shock and helps you interpret new situations with greater clarity.
Makes sense.
Once you arrive, effectively settling in involves building a robust network. Actively participate in student orientations, join clubs, or engage with cultural groups to meet new people. Universities frequently host welcoming events specifically for international students, making it easier to connect and build your initial support system.
And don't hesitate to seek timely support. Most universities maintain international student offices that offer invaluable resources for everything from visas and housing to mental health support and academic advising.
Use those offices.
They are there to help you navigate unfamiliar territory, so don't be afraid to ask questions. And in a new environment, maintaining organization is key. Keep meticulous track of all deadlines, appointments, important documents, whether you use digital organizational apps or just a simple notebook. This helps reduce stress and ensures you don't miss critical steps.
Once settled, thriving while abroad is primarily about mindset. Embrace challenges as growth opportunities. View any setbacks, whether it's struggling with the language, experiencing a moment of culture shock, or facing an unexpected logistical problem, as valuable opportunities for personal development and resilience building.
Turn it positive.
Yeah. Also, leverage travel and exploration. Make the absolute most of your time abroad to visit nearby countries, explore different regions within your host nation, or actively participate in local traditions and events. These experiences are part of the broader education and will create indelible memories.
And it's about balance. Maintain connection and engagement. Balance staying in touch with your family and friends back home with fully immersing yourself in your new environment. You want to bridge both worlds, not ignore one for the other.
Good point.
Looking beyond your program, explore post-study opportunities abroad. Strategic job hunting is crucial. Utilize your university's career services and alumni networks to discover potential employment opportunities. Websites like LinkedIn or Indeed are highly effective tools for finding roles that value your international experience.
Considering further education is another viable pathway. Explore graduate programs or professional certifications as a means to extend your stay and enhance your qualifications, deepening your expertise in your chosen field. And finally, giving back to the community is a wonderful way to cap off your experience.
Or so.
Well, share your transformative journey with future students through engaging blogs, social media, or by becoming a university ambassador. Your insights can guide and inspire the next generation of global learners.
To truly bring all of this discussion to life, let's delve deeper into some additional student journeys from various countries and programs. These stories vividly showcase the sheer breadth of experiences and the profound lessons learned that go way beyond academic transcripts.
Okay, more stories. Take Ngozi, for instance. She's a 27-year-old from Nigeria who pursued a master's in public health in Sweden.
Sweden, okay. Public health?
She was drawn by Sweden's strong emphasis on sustainability and equality, which resonated deeply with her passion for community health and social justice. Ngozi faced the adjustment to the long, dark winters and a more reserved social scene.
Big change from Lagos.
Which she found to be a significant contrast to vibrant Lagos. She initially missed the spontaneous warmth and closeness of Nigerian communities.
But she adapted. How?
By actively seeking out new connections. She joined a global health initiative at her university, collaborating with students from across the globe on projects tackling real-world issues. And here's the powerful outcome. Her degree ultimately led to an impactful role with a UN agency.
Wow, UN agency.
Where her understanding of diverse health systems and her adaptability learned in Sweden became invaluable assets. This truly demonstrates how studying abroad can launch significant, even globally impactful careers.
Then there's Carlos, a 20-year-old from Argentina who spent a year on exchange in Seoul, South Korea.
Seoul. K-pop fan, maybe.
Well, his initial curiosity stemmed from his interest in K-pop and K-dramas, which offered, let's say, a romanticized view of Korea. However, living there proved to be a far more intense and dynamic experience, fast-paced, incredibly technologically advanced, and demanding in its own unique ways.
A reality check.
Big time. Carlos struggled with the language initially, feeling frustrated by his slow progress and the rapid-fire Korean spoken around him. But he found solace and genuine connection in martial arts classes.
Interesting approach.
Where actions, as he put it, spoke louder than words. He built camaraderie and confidence through shared physical exertion, learning discipline and respect that transcended linguistic barriers. His story perfectly illustrates how even shorter-term programs, like an exchange year, can leave a profound and lasting impact on an individual's life, teaching lessons that extend far beyond a transcript.
And finally, May, a 23-year-old from Malaysia who pursued fashion design in Milan, Italy.
Milan, fashion capital.
Italy was her dream destination, combining her love for art, fashion, and history, hoping to immerse herself in the heart of haute couture. Though she humorously recalled the chaotic bureaucracy, getting official documents seemed to be an art form in itself.
Italian bureaucracy, classic.
As a particularly challenging aspect she hadn't anticipated.
But her experience was transformative, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. May's internship at a local atelier in Milan provided invaluable hands-on experience, allowing her to witness the intricate craft of Italian fashion firsthand, from sketching to fabric selection to final construction. This direct industry exposure, coupled with her international education, directly led to a job at a prestigious Singapore design studio immediately after graduation.
Fantastic outcome.
Her journey truly highlights the unique, creative, and professional opportunities afforded by studying abroad, especially in specialized, highly competitive fields like fashion, where global connections are absolutely key.
These individual stories are powerful, but it's crucial to remember that beyond individual growth, the phenomenon of international education has far-reaching effects on host countries and the world at large. It truly has a broader, often understated, global impact.
Absolutely. International students are a substantial economic driver for host nations. They aren't just consumers. They contribute significantly to the local economy. In the U.S., for example, international students contributed an impressive $45 billion to the economy in 2019.
$45 billion.
Through tuition fees, living expenses, supporting local businesses, and in Australia, education stands as a top export, actually surpassing things like iron ore or coal, sustaining hundreds of thousands of jobs across universities, housing providers, retail sectors.
It's a huge economic boon that often goes unrecognized.
It's more than just economics, though. Studying abroad actively promotes cross-cultural understanding, effectively reducing prejudice and building vital global bridges that foster peace and cooperation.
Breaking down barriers.
Exactly. When individuals from different backgrounds live, learn, and socialize together, stereotypes naturally break down and empathy grows. A study from 2018 indicated that countries with high international student mobility tended to have stronger diplomatic ties and more peaceful international relations.
That's a real-world impact.
Demonstrating a real-world impact on global stability. These person-to-person connections are the foundation of true diplomacy.
And this inherent diversity, brought by international students, fuels innovation and collaboration, particularly in research and development. When different perspective, educational backgrounds, problem-solving approaches converge, new ideas are sparked.
Right, synergy.
A report in a prominent scientific journal from 2021 found that international collaboration in academia resulted in more citations and groundbreaking discoveries. This benefits fields from cutting-edge technology and AI to critical medical research, pushing the boundaries of human knowledge in remarkable ways that wouldn't be possible in isolation.
So for those of you listening and considering this truly transformative journey, here's a quick overview of where to find practical support and guidance. When it comes to discovering the right programs, utilize comprehensive websites such as studyportals.com, goabroad.com, or directly explore university-specific portals that often have dedicated sections for international applicants.
Lots of online tools.
Loads. You can also connect with established, reputable organizations like the Institute of International Education, IIE, the British Council, or DEDAD, for broad guidance and country-specific information. Many countries also have dedicated organizations focused on international education, like Education USA or Campus France, providing invaluable resources.
And for securing funding for your studies, we talked about scholarships.
Right. Investigate renowned scholarships like Fulbright, Chevening, Australia Awards, or Erasmus plus Mugget, which we discussed earlier. These are highly competitive but offer substantial support. Also, always check with your specific university or government for available grants and financial aid opportunities tailored for international students.
Check everywhere.
And be aware that some countries do offer student loans for international students, though the terms and conditions will vary significantly based on your nationality and the host country's policies, so research these thoroughly.
When navigating visa and immigration, always consult official government immigration websites like gov.uk for the UK or cic.gc.ca for Canada. These are the most accurate and up-to-date sources of information, and policies can change.
Go to the source.
Exactly. And leverage the invaluable support of your university's dedicated international student or visa advisors. They are experts in this complex area and can help you navigate the specific requirements for your program and nationality, saving you time and potential headaches.
And finally, your pre-departure checklist. Ensure your passport, visa, acceptance documents are all in perfect order and kept in a secure, easily accessible place. Arrange for comprehensive health insurance and any necessary vaccinations well in advance, as these are often mandatory for student visas.
Don't forget the health stuff.
Crucial. Confirm your accommodation before you arrive, if possible, and set up a local bank account as soon as possible after arrival to manage your finances efficiently. And keep emergency contacts and local embassy information readily accessible. It's always better to have it and not need it. Gives you peace of mind.
So after all this exploration, is studying abroad the right path for you? The decision is undeniably personal, isn't it? And it's certainly a significant leap into the unknown.
It really is.
But it promises rewards that will resonate throughout your academic, personal, and professional life, shaping your trajectory in profound ways. The stories we've shared today, Priya's research breakthroughs, Maria's language triumphs, or Jamal's cultural adventures, demonstrate that this journey is as much about profound self-discovery and unlocking your own potential as it is about formal education.
It's not for everyone, certainly not for the faint-hearted. The financial hurdles, the jolt of culture shock, or the pangs of homesickness can truly test your resolve, pushing you to your limits. Yet these very challenges are precisely what forge resilience, build character, and cultivate a depth of understanding that few other experiences can offer. With diligent preparation, an open mind, and a genuine willingness to embrace every challenge as a learning opportunity.
That open mind is key.
Studying abroad can indeed become one of the most transformative experiences of your entire life, opening up a world of possibilities you never knew existed. It's about building a global future, one incredible adventure at a time, where every challenge is simply a step towards a stronger, more capable you.
Are you ready to pack your bags and pursue your global dreams? The world truly awaits. If you found this deep dive valuable, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel for more insightful content. Welcome to the Learn English Lab. Today, we're embarking on a fascinating deep dive into famous mistakes around the world, offering an advanced English listening practice. You know those moments when you spill coffee on your laptop or maybe send a text to the wrong person? We've all been there. Now imagine that error costing millions, maybe toppling empires, or even reshaping the course of history entirely. That's the kind of scope we're exploring today. Here on the Deep Dive, we unpack complex topics, we look at the details, we pull out the most important insights, and well, we try to make sure you walk away truly well-informed. Maybe even with a surprising fact or two that sticks with you. We'll be your guide through a collection of really intriguing accounts, revealing how blunders, some catastrophic, some honestly kind of comical, have fundamentally shaped our world in ways we rarely consider.
Indeed. And funny is that while mistakes can certainly be messy, humbling even, they're also incredibly transformative. They really lay bare our flaws, they challenge our assumptions, and, well, quite often they pave the way for genuine progress. Maybe think of them as, detours on the path to discovery rather than complete dead ends. We're going to tour some of humanity's most memorable slip-ups across, all sorts of fields, from engineering marvels that wobbled into infamy to marketing campaigns that just completely misfired.
Right. Our mission today is to understand not just what went wrong in these massive errors, but why it mattered so much. What did it truly cost? And maybe most importantly, what vital lessons were ultimately learned? So let's unpack this captivating subject and see how these monumental errors have taught us resilience, sparked innovation, and maybe offer some profound insights for all of us, even in our everyday lives. Okay, let's begin our journey with some of the most unforgettable engineering and technology disasters. These are cases where human ambition sometimes just overlooked critical details, leading to, well, pretty spectacular failures that we still talk about.
And our very first stop takes us back to 1940 in Washington State, USA, for the infamous Tacoma Narrows Bridge disaster.
Oh, Galloping Gertie. Yes. This bridge, so slender and sleek, it earned its ominous nickname the hard way, didn't it? Picture this. Just 4 months after its grand opening on November 7, 1940, a mere 40-mile-per-hour wind, not even hurricane force, began to twist and oscillate it violently before it just dramatically collapsed right into Puget Sound. And the spectacle wasn't just devastating, it was captured in this iconic, almost haunting film footage. A real visual testament to engineering limits.
Thankfully, no human lives were lost, but there was that poor Cocker Spaniel, Tubby. It became a kind of poignant symbol. His owner couldn't get back to him on the swaying structure.
Oh, right. That's heartbreaking.
It is. And the sheer visual impact of Galloping Gertie twisting like a ribbon in the wind, that really cemented his place in history books. You have to remember, the 1930s were this sort of golden age for bridge building in America. You had structures like the Golden Gate Bridge showing off immense ingenuity. The Tacoma Narrows Bridge, designed by Leon Weissif, it aimed to connect Tacoma with vital naval shipyards. And its slender, visually appealing, and cheaper design was seen as, well, a bold, modern choice.
But there were signs, weren't there? Early on.
Oh, absolutely. Even during construction, there were significant early warning signs. Workers, locals, they repeatedly reported noticeable wobbling and oscillations. They actually affectionately called it Galloping Gertie, even back then.
No way.
Yeah. But those crucial concerns, they were largely dismissed by the engineers. Maybe with a bit too much confidence, perhaps. They placed excessive trust in their theoretical models, their calculations, and failed to adequately account for these real-world dynamic forces.
So what was the catastrophic flaw then? What actually made it collapse?
Fundamentally, the collapse was due to something called aeroelastic flutter.
Aeroelastic flutter, okay.
Yeah, it's a phenomenon where wind-induced vibrations aren't just absorbed, they're actually magnified by the structure's own oscillations. It creates this destructive feedback loop. Imagine a flag flapping in the wind, but, on a massive, terrifying scale, consuming a steel structure.
Yeah.
The bridge's shallow deck, quite remarkably, behaved much like an airplane wing. It just kept twisting and flexing until the stresses became too great and it basically disintegrated.
And the investigations afterwards?
They pointed directly to an inadequate consideration of aerodynamic forces in the design. It became starkly clear that they had prioritized cost and, well, how pretty it looked, over fundamental structural stability and its interaction with nature.
The fallout must have been huge.
Oh, considerable. The state lost a $6.4 million structure. Now, if you account for inflation, that's well over $100 million in today's currency. A massive loss.
Ooh.
And this financial setback was compounded because rebuilding efforts took a full decade. So it delayed all that critical regional development the bridge was supposed to help. And of course, that iconic footage of the collapse. It continues to be a staple in engineering classrooms everywhere. A very sobering reminder of nature's power and, well, the need for careful design.
Yeah, the lessons learned from Tacoma Narrows were truly transformative for engineering, weren't they? It wasn't just about testing for wind. It forced this radical shift from static thinking to dynamic design, realizing that beauty and cost mean absolutely nothing if you haven't deeply understood the invisible, dynamic forces of nature.
Exactly. It basically redesigned the whole mindset of engineering, emphasizing humility before the elements and making wind tunnel testing absolutely essential for any major structure after that.
Okay, so from a bridge that danced itself apart.
Our next engineering blunder takes us to a space shuttle that tragically disintegrated just seconds after launch. The Challenger disaster in 1986, a different kind of failure, but maybe one with an even more profound human cost.
January 28, 1986. Yeah, a date just etched into collective memory. The Space Shuttle Challenger disintegrated only 73 seconds after launch. This horrific event, it tragically claimed the lives of 7 astronauts, including Krista McAuliffe, the teacher who was meant to inspire a whole generation watching live. The broadcast, witnessed by school children across the nation, around the world, it just irrevocably shattered NASA's image of invincibility. Widespread grief.
Yeah. In the 1980s, this was NASA's ambitious space shuttle era, right?
Oh.
Aimed at making space access more routine, almost democratizing it. The Challenger mission, STS-51L, was exceptionally high profile, partly because of Krista McCullough's presence. That was meant to boost public support, especially with budget scrutiny happening.
But the weather, that was a factor, wasn't it?
A huge factor. Cold weather in Florida on launch day. Temperatures were near freezing, around 28 degrees fire, -2 Celsius, and that sparked significant concerns among engineers. But NASA's intense drive to meet launch schedules, maybe an eagerness to maintain public momentum, it just overrode those dissenting voices, led to a truly fateful decision.
It's just astonishing to think, though, that such a monumental disaster came down to something as seemingly simple as a rubber O-ring. Can you explain that core mechanical failure? And maybe more importantly, why were the warnings about it ignored?
Right. That O-ring, in those freezing temperatures, it lost its flexibility. It became brittle and failed to seal properly in the joint of the solid rocket booster. This failure allowed a leak of hot gases, which acted like a blowtorch, eventually igniting the external fuel tank. That caused the shuttle to break apart. But the real failure, as the Rogers Commission investigation starkly revealed, wasn't just mechanical. It was deeply human.
How so?
NASA had explicit, repeated warnings from engineers at Morton Thiokol, the booster manufacturer, warnings about the risks of cold weather launches.
And they ignored them.
They tragically chose to override them. It was a classic case of what's called groupthink, intense schedule pressure, an overconfident belief in a system they thought was proven. It suppressed critical dissent, catastrophic oversight, really.
So it wasn't just a physical flaw, but a deeply embedded cultural flaw. Ignoring dissenting voices.
Yeah.
That's a powerful takeaway. And the consequences, of course, were profound.
Absolutely devastating. NASA suffered the unimaginable loss of 7 lives and a $1.7 billion shuttle, which today is roughly $5 billion. The entire shuttle program was grounded for nearly 3 years. Public confidence in NASA eroded substantially. But the disaster did spur comprehensive safety reforms. It profoundly reshaped the future of space exploration. A painful but undeniable turning point.
And the lessons learned, absolutely clear, far-reaching. This event unequivocally taught the world that safety must always take precedence over schedules and deadlines. No exceptions. It led to independent oversight boards, right? Specifically designed to scrutinize NASA's decisions, make sure different perspectives were heard.
And that concept of groupthink became a widely recognized management warning, highlighting the dangers of silencing opposing views and the critical importance of environments where dissent isn't just tolerated, but genuinely heard and acted upon.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Next, we dive into a different kind of technological fear. One that gripped the world as a new millennium approached. The Y2K bug panic.
Ah, Y2K.
Yes. As 1999 ticked closer and closer to the year 2000, these widespread fears of a digital apocalypse erupted. All because of the Y2K bug. The concern was basically that computers often used only 2-digit dates, right? Like 99 for 1999. And the fear was they'd misinterpret 00 as 1900, not 2000, which could potentially cause widespread system crashes, banking, power grids, aviation, everything.
Right. And billions were spent globally in this frantic preparation. But then January 1st, 2000 arrived. And remarkably minimal disruption occurred, leaving many wondering, is the panic just completely overblown? It emerged squarely during the 90s tech boom. Computing power was rapidly integrating into everything, and programmers back in the 60s, 70s, they used 2-digit dates mainly to save precious computer memory. Memory was expensive, limited back then. They never imagined their code would last so long or run such critical systems.
So by the 90s, these old systems were running everything from ATMs to, even nuclear arsenals.
Exactly. Which amplified the anxieties. And the media coverage often depicted these really apocalyptic scenarios, widespread blackouts, missile misfires, really feeding public apprehension.
So what really happened when the clock struck midnight? Was the problem real?
The underlying problem was genuine, yes. Some systems, particularly older ones that hadn't been updated, did experience failures. Minor things mostly, like hospital billing systems, some older databases glitching. However, the panic definitely outpaced the actual threat. Global spending on fixing it was estimated at an astonishing $300 billion. The U.S. alone spent about $100 billion.
Wow.
So the extensive coordinated preparation largely averted what could have been a much bigger disaster. Though, yes, some argued at the time and still do that the threat was exaggerated, that the doomsday scenarios were never really likely.
But the consequences were mainly the huge financial investment.
Primarily, yes. Billions poured into fixes. A varied economic impact, though a lot went to programmers and IT folks. But a significant positive outcome was that unprecedented global coordination. It really showed that proactive crisis prevention on a global scale with a common goal, it can be remarkably effective.
And the lessons from Y2K seem quite relevant today, don't they, with AI and other tech challenges?
Absolutely. It strongly emphasized needing to future-proof code, thinking long-term in software development. It showed global coordination can work, a model for other challenges maybe, and it sparked a big public debate about technological fear-mongering. Sure. How do we balance preparing for risks with avoiding undue panic? That's a conversation we're still having today, especially around AI.
Definitely. Okay, our next stop in Engineering Blunders takes us back to space, but this time to Europe. The Ariane 5 rocket explosion in 1996.
Ah, yes, a very expensive software bug.
On June 4th, 1996, the European Space Agency's Ariane 5 rocket. This was its highly anticipated debut launch. It self-destructed just 37 seconds after liftoff, immediately obliterated its $500 million payload, a huge blow. This flight was meant to really solidify Europe's standing in advanced space tech, show off its capabilities, compete for those commercial satellite launches.
And the 90s were this period of soaring European space ambitions. Ariane rockets were competing fiercely with NASA, with Russia, for that commercial market. Ariane 5 was a big step up from Ariane 4, designed specifically to carry much heavier payloads. However, there was a hurried development process, driven by wanting to outpace competitors, grab market share, and this led to insufficient testing.
Insufficient testing, a recurring theme.
And it proved to be a fatal flaw in such a high-stakes game where precision and reliability are everything.
So what was the critical misstep? What caused the explosion?
It was subtle but catastrophic. A software glitch within the inertial guidance system. This system mistakenly tried to convert a 64-bit floating point number representing the rocket's horizontal velocity into a 16-bit integer.
Okay. Why?
Because the horizontal velocity of the Ariane 5 was much, much higher than Ariane 4, which is where the code originally came from. This attempted conversion resulted in an overflow. The number was just too big to fit into the smaller integer space. This crashed the system, sent the rocket off course, and triggered the self-destruct mechanism.
Well, because of reused code that wasn't tested for the new rocket speed.
Exactly. The failure was directly attributed to reusing Ariane 4 code that hadn't been adequately tested for Ariane 5's significantly faster trajectory and different flight profile.
The consequences for Europe's space program must have been immediate and substantial.
Oh yes. The $500 million loss significantly delayed ESA's programs, set back their schedules. Europe's space credibility took a temporary hit, faced global ridicule, questions about their capabilities. ESA eventually recovered, of course, but it was a powerful, very public reminder of the extreme precision needed in rocket science and, crucially, software development.
The lessons learned seem vital. Code reuse needs rigorous validation, right? Especially across different systems.
Absolutely. Assumptions from old systems can't be blindly applied to new contexts without thorough retesting. And robust error handling, the system's ability to manage unexpected inputs or internal errors gracefully without crashing, became absolutely critical. It proved even seemingly small software flaws can have monumental, literally explosive consequences.
Okay, our final engineering case study. This involves a mix-up that cost NASA dearly. The Mars Climate Orbiter crash.
Ah, the metric versus imperial mix-up, a classic.
September 23, 1999. NASA's Mars Climate Orbiter, a highly anticipated mission, just vanished during its approach to Mars, resulting in a staggering $327 million loss. It was later found to have burned up in the Martian atmosphere, all due to what sounds like a simple yet utterly crucial unit mix-up. It's almost unbelievable.
Well, this happened during NASA's 1990s era of faster, better, cheaper. That whole ethos aimed to streamline missions after the Cold War. The orbiter, designed to study Mars's climate and weather, was a flagship project within this new, more agile framework. But the very cost-cutting measures that were part of this approach led to fragmented teams, different contractors working on different parts of the mission, and this fragmentation inadvertently sowed the seeds for the critical communication error that ultimately doomed the spacecraft.
So a simple unit mix-up, really. How did that happen?
The core issue was indeed a miscommunication of units. One team, a contractor, Lockheed Martin Astronautics, responsible for building the spacecraft and its ground control software, they used English units, specifically pounds force for thruster firing data. But NASA's primary navigation team at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory expected metric units, newtons, as per the mission specification.
Nobody caught it.
Nobody caught the discrepancy. This fundamental unit mismatch caused the navigation software to calculate the trajectory incorrectly. The orbiter approached Mars at a perilously low altitude. Instead of entering orbit at the planned, say, 150 kilometers, it descended to about 57 kilometers, far too low, burned up in the atmosphere.
And investigations blamed poor communication.
Unequivocally. Poor communication inadequate oversight, and a lack of standardized procedures between the involved teams. Just a failure to double-check across interface.
The consequences were significant, right? Not just the money.
Definitely. The $327 million financial loss severely impacted NASA's budget, future missions. This very public fiasco ignited renewed debates about adopting the metric system in the U.S., given its global scientific use. And NASA's reputation took a hit, prompted immediate comprehensive internal reforms to project management, communication protocols, interface verification, trying to prevent such a basic error ever happening again.
So the lessons were stark. Standardized units are absolutely non-negotiable in complex projects, especially space exploration where precision is everything.
And cross-team coordination, clear communication channels, shared protocols, absolutely paramount to prevent these oversights. Consequently, NASA tightened its project management, implemented more robust systems for verifying and validating data inputs from all partners. Understanding even the simplest miscommunication could have monumental implications.
Okay, let's move on. From rockets and bridges to consumer products and advertising, we find that the pursuit of profits and customer loyalty can also lead to some spectacular miscalculations.
Exactly. These business and marketing blunders reveal how a lack of cultural understanding or maybe inadequate research can spectacularly backfire.
And our first example here is a true classic of corporate misjudgment. Coca-Cola's New Coke debacle from 1985.
New Coke. April 1985. Coca-Cola introduces a sweeter reformulation meticulously designed to compete head-on with Pepsi. Pepsi had been gaining market share, eroding Coke's dominance. But the reaction from devoted fans, it was an absolute uprising. Unexpected.
People were really upset, weren't they?
Furious. They didn't just reject the new formula, they started stockpiling cases of old Coke. They deluged the company with over 400,000 complaints. I had an unprecedented level of consumer backlash. Within just 79 days, which is stunningly fast for a giant corporation, the original formula was back, rebranded as Coca-Cola Classic.
The 80s were famous for the Cola Wars, right? Pepsi was gaining ground with its Pepsi Challenge blind taste tests. Those often showed people preferred Pepsi's sweeter taste. So Coca-Cola, this enduring cultural icon since 1886, a symbol of America, they felt immense pressure to innovate, to fight back.
But what they failed to grasp was the profound emotional connection, the brand heritage their loyal customers had with the original product.
It wasn't just a drink.
For many, no. The change wasn't just a new flavor. It felt like a profound betrayal of a cherished cultural touchstone.
So what happened? Their research said people like the new taste better.
It did. That's the irony. Coca-Cola's extensive blind taste tests did indicate new Coke was preferred over both original Coke and Pepsi, purely on taste. But the company utterly failed to account for the deep emotional ties, the powerful brand heritage. The market research focused solely on taste, neglecting the psychological, the historical connection. They significantly underestimated the profound loyalty of their consumers. They alienated their most dedicated fan base who felt this sense of ownership over the brand.
What were the consequences for Coke? It seems like a disaster.
It was a brief, sharp dip in market share. But remarkably, the company rebounded with even greater strength after they brought back Classic Coke. The whole fiasco cost millions, rebranding, marketing, operational changes. But it undeniably cemented Coke's heritage as something virtually untouchable. Reinforced its iconic status, proved some brands are more than just products, they're cultural institutions.
So the lessons were powerful. Brand loyalty is emotional, not just rational.
Fundamentally emotional, yes. Not just about taste or features. It proved market research needs to dig deeper than simple taste preferences. Understand the intangible aspects of consumer sentiment, brand attachment. And intriguingly, it showed that a crisis, if you handle it with agility, humility, respond to consumers, you can actually boost your brand's standing. Reinforce its appeal.
Fascinating. Okay, our next case in business missteps takes us to the automotive industry. The infamous Ford Edsel's epic flop from 1957.
The Edsel. Launched with immense hype, huge fanfare in '57, touted as this revolutionary vehicle set to redefine the American car market. Instead, it quickly became a notorious flop, cost Ford an estimated $350 million, which today is like $3.5 billion. It became, and still is, a byword for commercial failure, for overpromising.
And the context is important here, right?
Yeah.
Post-WWII America, booming car market, families wanting innovative, distinctive vehicles.
Yeah, exactly. Ford strategically positioned the Edsel to capture this burgeoning middle-class niche. Invested heavily in pre-launch promotion, built massive anticipation.
Right.
But several factors just conspired against it. An economic recession hit in 1957, plus significant design missteps. It sealed its fate before it really had a chance.
So what went wrong with the Edsel specifically?
Well, that distinctive horse collar grille was widely ridiculed, often described as an upside-down toilet seat. Not exactly a great start for public image.
Ouch.
Beyond the questionable looks, its price point was too high for the economic downturn of '57, ill-timed luxury. There were also reports of rushed production schedules leading to quality issues and just a vague, ill-defined market target. It was kind of a car without a clear identity for a market that was tightening its belt.
Consequences for Ford.
Substantial. Massive financial loss, obviously. And its reputation for bold innovation and market insight took a serious hit. The Edsel's failure prompted Ford to really refine its product development, its market research processes, became more cautious, more data-driven afterwards. Ironically, though, despite the spectacular failure, the Edsel is now a sought-after collector's item. Because it's rare, because it's notorious. Its failure became its legacy, in a strange way.
So the lessons are enduring. Marketing hype needs product reality.
Absolutely. Hype must be backed by a compelling product and real market demand. It vividly illustrates the critical importance of economic timing for launches. Even a decent product can fail in a bad economy. And defining clear, well-researched market niches is essential. You need to know who you're selling to.
Right. Okay, next misstep, much more recent. 2017, a controversial marketing campaign that crashed and burned almost instantly. Pepsi's Kendall Jenner ad.
Oh yes, that one generated a lot of heat.
2017, Pepsi releases this ad. Features celebrity Kendall Jenner. She hands a police officer a Pepsi during what looks like a protest. The implication being, a soda can somehow resolve social strife. It was intended to convey unity, but it got pulled within 24 hours. Widespread global condemnation, seen as trivializing really serious societal issues, profound social movements, particularly Black Lives Matter, police brutality concern.
And the context is crucial. The 2010s, heightened racial tensions in the U.S., widespread protests. Brands were increasingly trying to address social issues in their ads, aiming for relevance, authenticity, but Pepsi's attempt profoundly misfired. In an already polarized climate, it showed a fundamental misunderstanding of the gravity of the issues they were trying to co-opt.
So what went so wrong with this ad specifically? Why the intense backlash?
It was widely perceived as mocking genuine protest imagery. It lacked any real authenticity. It basically appropriated powerful symbols of resistance and struggle and reduced them to this shallow marketing gimmick. It became clear Pepsi hadn't incorporated diverse input during its creation. They seemed to operate under this misguided assumption that, good intentions alone would be enough to navigate such sensitive, complex social terrain.
And the consequences for Pepsi?
Its brand reputation took an immediate substantial hit. Temporary loss of consumer trust, widespread public ridicule. The ad rapidly became a viral meme used all over social media to mock corporate tone deafness, insensitivity. And it spurred considerable self-reflection within the advertising industry about how to handle social issues authentically in marketing, forced a reassessment of corporate social responsibility.
The lessons seem crystal clear. Social issues need authentic, respectful handling.
Absolutely. Not superficial or opportunistic engagement. It highlighted the critical need for diverse teams, varied backgrounds, perspectives to spot potential cultural blind spots or unintended messages. And crucially, when you make a gaffe like that, apologies need to be swift, sincere, and show a real understanding of why people were offended.
Okay, next up, a classic anecdote. A linguistic blunder, almost comical. The Chevrolet Nova in Latin America in the 1970s.
Ah, yes, Nova.
Exactly. While the Chevy Nova sold well in the U.S., its performance in Latin America was notably poor. Partly attributed to its name, Nova, literally translating to "it doesn't go" in Spanish. Not exactly the message you want for a car, right? It really shows how one simple phrase can potentially derail a product.
The 70s were this period of big global expansion for U.S. automakers, looking beyond domestic markets. But cultural gaps, linguistic nuances, often posed unforeseen obstacles. GM aimed the Nova at Latin America's growing middle class, expected strong demand. But various missteps, including that unfortunate name, hindered its success, showed that a one-size-fits-all approach rarely works internationally.
So was the name the only issue, or was there more going on?
Well, the Nova thing is often cited, maybe a bit overstated as the sole reason.
Yeah.
But it certainly didn't help. GM's overall branding in the region was maybe a bit weak. There was intense market competition. Those definitely impacted sales too. A broader cultural insensitivity in their marketing, a failure to do thorough local research, that also played a part. A product's success relies on more than just avoiding bad translations.
Consequences for GM? Lower sales, obviously.
Significantly underperformed in key Latin American markets, yeah. missed revenue opportunities. And this experience prompted GM to adjust its global strategy, put more emphasis on localized market research, cultural adaptation in naming, marketing, and the anecdote of the Nova's name, still a legendary cautionary tale in business lore, often cited in international marketing classes, prime example of linguistic oversight.
So the lessons are invaluable for global brands. Vet product names thoroughly in target markets.
Absolutely. Avoid unintended meanings. Comprehensive cultural research is paramount for international ventures beyond language. It includes customs, values, consumer behavior, and it also shows how widely circulated myths or anecdotes can sometimes amplify the perception of actual errors, even if they weren't the only cause of failure.
Right. Okay, our final business blunder. This is a truly epic tale of a missed opportunity, one that still sends shivers down the spines of business strategists. Blockbuster's Netflix snub from 2000.
Oh, Blockbuster, a textbook case. In 2000, they famously rejected an offer to buy Netflix for just $50 million. They dismissed Netflix's little mail-order DVD model, believed it had no future against their huge brick-and-mortar empire.
And Netflix, of course, pivoted, dominated streaming, while Blockbuster, just unable to adapt, eventually declared bankruptcy in 2010.
The late 90s, video rental stores were thriving. Blockbuster's 9,000 stores dominated the industry, ubiquitous. Netflix, just a fledgling startup then, proposed a buyout, saw potential synergy. But Blockbuster's leadership, complacent in their dominance, steadfastly committed to physical rentals, brick-and-mortar stores, couldn't foresee the seismic shift technology was about to unleash.
So what went fundamentally wrong? Why didn't they see it coming?
They profoundly misjudged the trajectory of digital trends, the looming threat of online distribution. They clung to their established revenue streams, especially those late fees, and their physical store presence. Business historians point to their leadership's short-term focus. It blinded them to Netflix's long-term potential, the inevitable shift in consumer behavior from physical media to digital streaming.
Failed to see the forest for the trees.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Focused on optimizing their current model rather than embracing the future, even when the future knocked on their door with a $50 million offer.
The consequences were dire.
Bankruptcy.
Job losses.
Blockbuster's 2010 bankruptcy resulted in about 60,000 job losses, a stark reminder of the human cost of corporate stagnation. Conversely, Netflix's market cap surged, reached, $300 billion by 2025, became a global entertainment behemoth. This critical misstep remains a foundational case study in business schools, illustrates the perils of complacency, the failure to innovate.
The lessons seem incredibly strong. Embrace disruptive tech early.
Yes. Don't dismiss them as niche or temporary. It illustrates that a long-term strategic vision consistently outweighs an exclusive focus on short-term gains and established revenue streams. The ultimate lesson is clear. Adapt or face inevitable decline in rapidly evolving markets. Innovation isn't just about creating new things. It's about being willing to, destroy your old models before someone else does.
Okay, let's shift focus again. Now to errors of a different magnitude. Political and military blunders. These miscalculations can literally redraw maps, topple leaders, ignite devastating conflicts, often stemming from hubris, poor communication, or gravely underestimating an adversary.
And we begin with a monumental strategic error that essentially broke an empire. Napoleon's invasion of Russia in 1812.
1812, Napoleon's formidable Grande Armée, 600,000 soldiers strong, launches this massive invasion of Russia. His goal? Enforce his continental system, that big European economic blockade against Britain, and punish Russia for defying it.
But what started as this seemingly unstoppable campaign turned into a catastrophic retreat. By the brutal onset of the Russian winter, fewer than 50,000 soldiers made it back. A decisive, irreversible turning point for his empire, ultimately contributed to his downfall.
And contextually, by 1812, Napoleon controlled much of Europe, right?
Most of it, yeah. Conquered or coerced most of the continent to his empire. But Russia's Tsar Alexander I openly defied his trade blockade against Britain, which was critical to Napoleon's strategy. So the invasion was meant as a punitive measure, a swift show of force to bring Russia back in line. Yet Napoleon gravely overlooked the sheer vastness of Russia and the severity of its unforgiving winter. Two monumental challenges that proved insurmountable.
So what went catastrophically wrong for arguably one of history's greatest military minds?
He grievously underestimated Russia's scorched earth tactics. The retreating Russian armies systematically burned everything, crops, villages, anything useful to the invaders, denied them crucial resources.
And his supply lines
Collapsed, stretched over immense distances deep into Russia, led to widespread starvation, disease, desertion among his troops. overconfidence in his own military genius, and a profound failure to adapt to the brutal local conditions, the enemy's unconventional strategy. Those are key factors.
The consequences for Napoleon were immense. His empire crumbled.
Began to crumble soon after, yeah. His military strength was fatally depleted, led to his first exile. Russia, conversely, emerged significantly strengthened, a major European superpower after repelling the continent's dominant force, and the campaign profoundly influenced military strategy ever since, highlighting the supreme importance of logistics, supply chains, and really understanding the operational environment, climate, terrain, everything.
So the lessons are stark. Logistics are as important as strategy.
Maybe more so sometimes. Robust logistics, reliable supply chains, just as vital as ambition or tactical brilliance. It showed local conditions, harsh winter, determined adversary adapting can totally shape outcomes, regardless of army size or reputation. And overextension of forces, pushing beyond sustainable limits, almost always invites collapse, strategic defeat.
Okay, our next political and military error is a well-known example of intelligence failure, one that shaped a president's future decisions. The Bay of Pigs invasion in 1961.
The Bay of Pigs, a classic intelligence fiasco.
April 1961, a force of 1,400 Cuban exiles, covertly backed by the CIA, invades Cuba at the Bay of Pigs. Objective, overthrow Fidel Castro's communist regime. But the mission collapses disastrously within days. Invading force, quickly defeated, inadvertently strengthened Castro's grip, became a massive embarrassment for the U.S.
And the Cold War was at its peak then. Intense U.S. fear about Soviet alignment in Cuba just 90 miles offshore. President Kennedy inherited the CIA's plan from the Eisenhower administration, approved it, despite significant internal doubts from some advisors. A critical flaw. The exiled forces were counting on crucial U.S. air support for cover. Support that, well, never materialized during the actual invasion.
What led to such a complete and utter failure then?
Fundamentally, the CIA profoundly misjudged two things: the true extent of Castro's popular support among Cubans, and the capabilities of his military forces. Plus, critical leaks had forewarned Cuba. Castro's forces were prepared. Poor logistical planning left the invaders stranded, vulnerable on the beaches, quickly overwhelmed. The whole operation was just plagued by flawed intelligence, over-optimistic assumptions, and a lack of decisive commitment from the U.S. government, which kind of pulled back crucial support at the last minute.
The consequences were immediate and long-lasting, right? Setting the stage for future confrontations.
Definitely. Cuba solidified its alignment even closer with the Soviet Union, increased tensions. Kennedy's more cautious, skeptical approach, a direct result of this failure, heavily influenced his decisions during the subsequent, much more dangerous Cuban Missile Crisis. And the CIA's credibility suffered a severe public blow, led to intense scrutiny, internal reforms.
The lessons seem profound for foreign policy. Covert ops. Intelligence needs to be robust, accurate, unbiased.
Exceptionally robust, yes. And operational secrecy is critical. Leaks can undermine everything. And perhaps most vitally, political will and commitment must truly align with the scope of the plan. A half-hearted or wavering commitment can doom an operation before it even starts.
Right. Okay, next example from the Crimean War. A moment of extraordinary bravery, but also profound blunder. The Charge of the Light Brigade.
Tennyson's poem immortalized it, but the reality was a tragic mistake.
October 25th, 1854. Crimean War. About 670 British cavalrymen charged directly into a valley defended by heavy Russian artillery at Balaclava. This tragic assault, caused by a misheard, misinterpreted order, resulted in over 100 deaths in minutes, became a symbol of heroic futility, often remembered without understanding the communication breakdown behind it.
The Crimean War pitted Britain, France, Turkey against Russia, primarily over territory and influence in the Ottoman Empire. The ill-fated charge was meant to disrupt Russian troop movements, stop them removing captured British guns, but deep-seated rivalries, personal animosities, a general lack of clear communication among British commanders. It all muddled the plans, contributed to a breakdown in the chain of command, set the stage for disaster.
What essentially led to such a tragic and seemingly pointless sacrifice?
It was a breakdown in the chain of command, yeah, made worse by poor communication. A vague, ambiguous order from the top commander, Lord Raglan, was misinterpreted when relayed down to Lord Cardigan, leading the Light Brigade. Instead of attacking a specific, more vulnerable target, the order sent them into this deadly exposed valley, straight into the mouth of Russian cannons.
Misinterpretation fueled by egos.
Seems likely.
Yeah.
Attributed primarily to inflated egos, especially among the aristocratic commanders, and catastrophic communication breakdowns. They failed to ensure orders were clear, understood, executable.
The consequences were immense human loss for virtually no strategic gain.
Exactly. achieved almost nothing strategically. Little tactical benefit, a profound waste of life. Paradoxically, though, it did spur significant British military reforms. Command structure, communication protocols, even officer training, aiming to prevent it happening again. And its legend, immortalized by Tennyson, resonates still. A testament to both bravery and profound military blunder, illustrates the high costs of disorganization.
This incident is such a stark reminder that clear, unambiguous orders literally save lives on the battlefield. Precision in command is non-negotiable.
And it shows how personal ego, rivalries at senior levels, can severely undermine effectiveness, lead to devastating outcomes. Above all, effective, transparent communication ensuring intentions and instructions are perfectly understood is absolutely critical in military operations where lives hang in the balance.
Okay, our final military case study, another tragic example of underestimation and misplaced ambition, the Gallipoli campaign of 1915.
Gallipoli, a name synonymous with catastrophe for the Allies in World War I.
1915. This Allied campaign, an ambitious attempt to seize the Dardanelles straight from the Ottoman Empire during WWI, it was a catastrophic failure from almost every angle, resulted in about 250,000 casualties for the Allied forces alone. Far from achieving its goals, it inadvertently bolstered Turkish nationalism, contributed to the rise of modern Turkey.
The context was WWI's Western Front bogged down in deadly trench warfare stalemate. This prompted the Allies, particularly Winston Churchill, to seek a new front to break the deadlock. The plan, championed by Churchill, aimed to knock the Ottoman Empire out of the war, open a supply route to Russia, divert enemy resources. But it gravely underestimated the fierce determination, resilience, and tactical skill of the Turkish forces fighting on their home soil.
What went profoundly wrong with the Gallipoli campaign? It sounds like a litany of errors.
It really was. Extremely poor planning, inadequate intelligence about the rugged, unforgiving terrain, and ultimately the tenacious, effective resistance of the Turkish forces under Mustafa Kemal, who'd later found modern Turkey. Extensive logistical chaos supplies not reaching the front lines, a severe lack of coordinated effort among the various Allied contingents. It all sealed the defeat, turned a bold gamble into a bloody quagmire.
The consequences were widespread, impacting the war itself and shaping national identities.
Definitely. The failure contributed to prolonging WWI as the Western Front stalemate continued. More significantly, Turkey's definitive victory at Gallipoli, a moment of immense national pride, fueled its independence movement, solidified Mustafa Kemal's leadership. And for Australia and New Zealand, whose soldiers, the Anzac Seas, made immense sacrifices there, Anzac Sea Day became this powerful national observance, honoring their fallen, forging a key part of their national identity through shared sacrifice.
This campaign offers crucial lessons. Underestimating your enemy can have fatal consequences.
Especially their resolve and ability to defend their homeland. Yes. It further illustrates that logistical capabilities must fully align with strategic ambition. Even the best plans fail without proper support. And paradoxically, even profound defeat, like for the Anzac Seas, can sometimes serve as this crucible for forging national identity, a shared sense of purpose.
Okay, let's move into the realm of science. Science, by its nature, progresses through trial and error, right? But some scientific missteps have misled, even caused harm before being corrected.
Exactly. These cases highlight the inherent stakes in rushing research, or worse, manipulating it.
Our first scientific blunder is a truly fascinating case of deception that fooled experts for decades. The Piltdown Man hoax, starting around 1912 in the UK.
Piltdown Man, yes. 1912, Charles Dawson, an amateur archaeologist, unveils what he claims is the missing link in human evolution, bridging apes and humans. This discovery met with huge fanfare, successfully deceived a big chunk of the scientific community for decades. It wasn't until 1953 it was definitively exposed as an elaborate fake, a concoction of human and orangutan bones.
The historical context is revealing here, isn't it? Early 20th century Britain really wanted evolutionary proof.
They did, particularly a British atom that would place their nation at the center of human origins. Piltdown Man conveniently aligned with these nationalist hopes, preconceived notions. And this strong desire inadvertently blinded even esteemed experts to obvious flaws in what was ultimately a meticulously crafted fake, a medieval human skull, a modern orangutan jawbone, skillfully stained to look ancient.
So what went wrong was deliberate fraud, but also confirmation bias.
Exactly. The skull and jaw were chemically treated, artificially aged, teeth filed down, clear fraud. But beyond that, confirmation bias played a huge role. Researchers, wanting a specific outcome, saw what they wanted to see, and there was a lack of sufficiently rigorous scrutiny. The scientific community, eager for a groundbreaking discovery, was perhaps too trusting.
The consequences were significant for paleoanthropology.
Oh yes. The hoax inadvertently delayed genuine research into human origins for decades. Valuable resources, intellectual energy wasted analyzing a fake. However, exposing the hoax also prompted positive developments, led to more sophisticated, reliable dating techniques for finds. And the incident remains this potent cautionary tale about integrity, skepticism within science, emphasizes the importance of independent verification.
So the lessons are powerful. Skepticism over wishful thinking.
Always. Healthy skepticism should prevail. Extraordinary claims need extraordinary evidence. It underscored the absolute necessity of rigorous peer review, independent replication, and it revealed how national pride or ingrained assumptions can, regrettably, skew objective scientific assessment. Reminds us even scientists are susceptible to human biases.
Okay, our next scientific misstep had devastating human consequences, a tragedy that reshaped an entire industry. The thalidomide tragedy, 1957 to 1961.
Thalidomide. A truly harrowing story. This drug, widely marketed as a sedative and a remedy for morning sickness, tragically caused severe birth defects in over 10,000 babies globally. This horrific consequence emerged before its eventual belated ban in 1961, left a generation of children with profound, often lifelong disabilities.
And the context was the post-WWII pharmaceutical boom, less regulation.
Exactly. A booming industry, driven by scientific advances, public demand for new meds, but often with comparatively lax regulatory oversight compared to today. A German company marketed thalidomide widely across many countries. Despite what was later deemed insufficient safety testing, particularly regarding its potential effects on pregnant subjects, a critical oversight for a drug given to expectant mothers.
What went profoundly wrong was the failure to test for teratogenic effects, birth defects.
Catastrophic failure, yes, especially egregious given its intended use by pregnant women. Subsequent medical investigations definitively linked the drug to severe limb deformities, phocomelia, where infants were born with tragically shortened or absent limbs and other congenital anomalies. A direct causal link.
The consequences were immense and heartbreaking.
Thousands suffered lifelong disabilities. This tragedy acted as a powerful catalyst, leading to comprehensive tightening of drug approval laws, regulatory standards worldwide, particularly in the U.S., where Dr. Francis Kelsey famously fought to keep it off the market. Intriguingly, thalidomide has since found new, carefully controlled uses treating leprosy, certain cancers under strict oversight. Shows how a drug associated with profound error can, under different circumstances, yield unexpected benefits when better understood.
This event taught an immutable lesson. All new drugs need extraordinary testing, especially for pregnant individuals.
Rigorous testing, yes. It emphatically proved robust regulation, comprehensive safety trials. Independent oversight aren't just bureaucracy, they're essential safeguards. They save lives, prevent immense suffering. And yeah, it showed how rarely a drug from a profound error can yield benefits later, when understood and controlled.
Okay, our next scientific miscalculation is a story of immense hype and ultimate disappointment. The cold fusion fiasco of 1989.
Cold fusion, the dream of limitless clean energy. That wasn't quite real.
1989. Two chemists, Stanley Pons and Martin Fleischmann, sensationally claimed they'd achieved cold fusion, generating limitless energy at room temperature. The announcement, made at a press conference, not through peer-reviewed journals, generated huge excitement. Hope for clean energy.
But the results couldn't be reliably replicated by other scientists despite numerous attempts. The highly publicized dream just fizzled, became a cautionary tale of scientific overeagerness.
And the context was the 80s energy crisis, right? Intensified hopes for alternative energy.
Exactly. Fusion, powering the sun, generating clean, abundant energy without extreme heat. Hugely attractive. The chemist's decision to hold a press conference, announce findings to the world before peer review, generated immense hype, bypassed the crucial, rigorous, skeptical process of scientific validation.
So what went wrong? Why couldn't others replicate it?
A combination of flawed experimentation and premature publicity. Subsequent investigations showed the experiments were indeed flawed. The data presented was unreliable, misinterpreted at best. A big factor was announcing publicly too soon, bypassing the established channels of scientific validation, which require independent verification, critical assessment by other experts. The rush to publicity created hope overshadowing evidence.
The consequences for cold fusion as a concept were severe.
Became a subject of scientific ridicule, skepticism for years. Funding dried up almost immediately. The incident served to significantly reinforce, tighten the standards for research validation, publication across science, emphasized following proper scientific protocol. Despite the setbacks, some researchers, undeterred, still pursue the elusive dream of practical cold fusion, though with much greater caution and rigor now.
The lessons are clear. Extraordinary claims need extraordinary proof.
Verifiable, independently reproducible proof. Yes. It underscores that thorough peer review is paramount. Should always precede public announcements. Ensure accuracy, prevent misinformation, and it highlighted how excessive hype, sensationalism can really harm the integrity, the public perception of science, leads to loss of trust when claims aren't substantiated.
Right. Our final scientific miscalculation takes us back to the 19th century, a captivating story of misinterpretation and wishful thinking. The Martian canals myth.
The canals of Mars, a classic case of seeing what you want to see.
1877, Italian astronomer Giovanni Schiaparelli observes canali on Mars. He meant natural channels, grooves. But it gets mistranslated into English as canals. This single error sparks widespread belief in artificial Martian canals, and therefore, intelligent life on Mars engineering these things.
By the early 20th century, better telescopes showed they were just optical illusions. No canals existed.
And the Victorian era context fueled this, right? Fascination with space, extraterrestrial life.
Intense fascination, yes, driven by advances in astronomy. Maps drawn in the 1890s by Percival Lowell, another prominent astronomer captivated by Schiaparelli's observations, further fueled it. Lowell meticulously depicted these intricate networks of straight geometric canals, believed they were irrefutable proof of alien engineering, solidified the myth in the popular imagination.
So what went wrong? Just the translation, or more?
Multifaceted. The mistranslation was fundamental, yes. Canali, channels, became canals. Artificial, very suggestive. Additionally, limitations in telescope tech back then, coupled with human perceptual biases, inadvertently created the illusion of linear features. The eye connects faint dots into lines. In wishful thinking, a strong desire to find life beyond Earth played a big role in interpreting ambiguous observations as definitive proof.
The consequences were mixed, though. Inspired interest, but delayed real science.
Exactly. The myth undoubtedly inspired huge public interest in space exploration, fueled tons of great science fiction, like H.G. Wells's War of the Worlds. But it also, for a time, delayed the accurate, objective study of Mars' true surface features. Scientists were sidetracked, trying to confirm these non-existent structures. Serves as a notable lesson in the pitfalls of observational bias, the power of suggestion.
The lessons learned. Empirical data over desire.
Always. Objective observation must take precedence over preconceived wishes, no matter how exciting. It shows how subtle issues, like one word's translation, can have substantial, long-lasting impacts in scientific interpretation, public understanding, and intriguingly, even significant scientific errors can sometimes inadvertently inspire future progress exploration. The canal myth certainly motivated further study of Mars.
Okay, moving into our increasingly globalized world, cultural missteps can quickly ignite amusement or, more often, intense fury. These cultural and social gaffes show the substantial cost of overlooking or misinterpreting local norms and sensitivities.
Absolutely. And our first cultural gaffe is from 2012, a famous shoe brand trying to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. Nike's black and tan sneaker.
Right. Nike releases this St. Patrick's Day themed black and tan sneaker. Seemed innocuous maybe, but the name deeply offended Irish consumers, many Irish Americans. The term black and tan immediately evoked this brutal British paramilitary force active during Ireland's 1920s War of Independence, a period of immense suffering, violence in Irish history. Not just a mistake, a deeply offensive oversight.
Nike's themed sneakers often aim to tap into cultural celebrations. Identities, here likely targeting Irish-American pride around St. Paddy's Day. But black and tan immediately recall this notorious paramilitary group known for extreme violence, atrocities, suppression during a highly sensitive, painful period.
This historical association, completely overlooked by Nike, turned a celebratory product into a symbol of historical insensitivity.
What went profoundly wrong was Nike just didn't do their homework, failed to research the historical baggage, evidently. Highlighted a clear lack of cultural awareness in their product naming, marketing teams. Irish protests erupted rapidly, but social media, traditional media, forced a public apology from Nike, immediate renaming of the product. The swift backlash showed how globally connected things are, the immediate ramifications of cultural insensitivity.
Consequences for Nike, loss of goodwill.
Temporary loss of goodwill, yeah. Dent in its brand image among Irish-American consumers who felt disrespected. The incident prompted Nike to significantly tighten its cultural review processes for product naming, marketing, implement protocols to prevent similar missteps. Ironically, the controversial sneaker, due to its notoriety, is now a collector's curiosity. a physical reminder of a marketing blunder.
The lessons seem vital. Thorough historical, cultural research in global marketing is crucial.
Absolute vitality. What seems harmless in one context can be deeply offensive in another. It demonstrates local cultural expertise is invaluable in preventing these missteps, protecting brand reputation. And crucially, facing such a gaffe, a swift, sincere, humble apology is imperative for damage control, rebuilding trust.
Okay, next cultural misstep. Fashion world. Major luxury brands' spectacular misfire in a crucial market. Dolce & Gabbana's chopstick ad from 2018.
D&G. Yes, that caused quite a stir.
2018. Luxury fashion house Dolce & Gabbana releases promotional videos depicting a Chinese model attempting, with exaggerated difficulty, seemingly condescending tone, to eat Italian food like pizza, cannoli using chopsticks. The campaign swiftly sparked widespread accusations of racism, cultural insensitivity, led to a significant boycott across China, immediate cancellation of planned D&G fashion shows in Shanghai, a brand trying to be clever, falling flat with thud.
And the context. 2010s, booming luxury market in China. Crucial, lucrative target for Western brands. But these brands frequently encountered cultural pitfalls expanding there. D&G's ad came out during heightened U.S.-China trade tensions, too, adding another layer of sensitivity. Public particularly attuned to perceived slights.
So what went spectacularly wrong here?
The ad was widely seen as mocking Chinese culture, reinforcing negative stereotypes about Chinese people's ability to use their own traditional eating utensils. Clear D&G lacked sufficient local cultural input, demonstrated profound tone deafness, failed to understand cultural nuances, historical context. This misjudgment alienated a crucial, incredibly lucrative market segment, showed cultural understanding is as important as design and global fashion.
Consequences for D&G were severe, immediate. Sales plummeted.
Dramatically in China, yeah. Many retailers pulled their products. The incident compelled the whole fashion industry to engage in widespread self-reflection, spurred increased emphasis on cultural sensitivity training for brands operating internationally. D&G's recovery in the Chinese market has been notably slow, challenging, proves a major cultural misstep can have long-lasting financial, reputational repercussions.
The lessons seem powerful, applicable across industries. Perpetuating stereotypes alienates markets.
Inevitably causes immense brand damage. It highlights integrating local voices, perspectives, diverse teams, local experts is absolutely critical for global success. Also a stark reminder. Cultural power dynamics can shift rapidly, decisively, imperative for brands to stay agile, sensitive to evolving global perceptions.
Okay, next example. A well-known international marketing blunder involving baby food, a cautionary tale of literal interpretation. Gerber's baby food in Africa in the 1960s.
Oh, the Gerber baby.
Yeah,
Yes.
Gerber's iconic U.S. baby food jars with that charming, smiling baby on the label performed very poorly, faced significant resistance in certain African markets. Unexpected lack of success, largely because consumers in areas with low literacy levels mistakenly believed the jars contained, well, ground-up babies. Given their literal interpretation of the packaging image, the visual, meant to be reassuring, became deeply disturbing.
Almost unthinkable, right? Truly is. The 60s. Big expansion for U.S. brands into Africa's emerging markets, seeking new growth. Gerber, relying on its universally recognized successful packaging in the U.S. and West, assumed its iconic image would translate effectively, universally, across diverse cultures. Failed to consider packaging design, like language, is culturally constructed, interpreted.
So the core of this cultural oversight was assuming visual language is universal.
Pretty much. In regions with low literacy rates, where labels might lack detailed ingredients, consumers rely heavily on visual cues on packaging to understand contents. Gerber's cultural oversight meant they didn't anticipate this literal interpretation of their famous baby image, led to widespread distrust, revulsion, rejection of the product. The smiling baby, symbol of health in one culture, became symbol of horror in another.
Consequences for Gerber were significant loss of market share.
Considerable loss in targeted African countries, yeah. Forced them to quickly, expensively redesign packaging for these regions, often opting for labels showing the actual ingredients, peas, carrots, etc. The incident became a foundational lesson in international marketing, a classic case study influencing how other brands approached global expansion, the critical importance of localized market research.
The lessons are clear. Packaging design needs meticulous adaptation to local norms.
Understanding, yes. Universal design doesn't guarantee universal acceptance. Thorough cultural research is pivotal for successful global marketing, beyond mere translation. And it highlights visual literacy. Image interpretation can vary dramatically across cultures. Imperative for brands to test their visual communications.
Right. Our final cultural and social misstep comes from a major coffee chain. Well-intentioned, but profoundly misguided attempt at social commentary. Starbucks' Race Together campaign in 2015.
Race Together, yes, that sparked a lot of debate.
2015, Starbucks launches Race Together, ambitious initiative encouraging baristas to engage customers in discussions about race, racial relations. Idea was to foster dialogue, connection. But it quickly sparked significant backlash, widely perceived as trivializing complex, systemic social issues by reducing them to a coffee shop conversation. Classic example of good intentions paving the way to a PR nightmare.
And the context was critical. U.S. experiencing heightened racial tensions after notable incidents, social unrest. Starbucks' CEO, Howard Schultz, aimed to promote social impact, thought the company could play a role in fostering unity. But the campaign's execution proved profoundly flawed, insensitive to the prevailing societal mood and the nature of the complex issues it tried to address.
So where did the execution fall apart? Why the backlash?
Fundamental flaw was in the execution, the expectation placed on employees. It basically coerced baristas largely unprepared, untrained for such sensitive conversations, into navigating these highly charged discussions about race with customers. Many customers, taken aback, feeling uncomfortable, felt the campaign was preachy, performative, superficial, not genuinely engaging or productive, led to widespread criticism, awkward encounters.
Consequences for Starbucks, a hit to their reputation.
Notable hit, yeah. Widely mocked, criticized, led to a dip in public favor. The campaign did spur some positive internal changes, though, led to implementation of more robust diversity and inclusion training within the company. Perhaps a genuine attempt to learn from the misstep. It's since become this widely cited example in PR, corporate social responsibility, how good intentions can still lead to significant missteps as executed poorly.
The lessons learned seem significant. Social issues demand authentic, carefully considered execution.
Not just superficial or forced engagement, yes. It underscored employees must be adequately equipped, trained, comfortable to participate in such initiatives, especially involving sensitive topics. Ultimately, good intentions without proper planning, deep understanding, empathy for how the message will be received, simply not enough to prevent a major PR misstep.
Okay, let's turn to our impact on the planet. Regrettably, this provides another stark category of mistakes. From catastrophic spills to widespread deforestation, these environmental oversights unequivocally highlight the critical need for robust, sustainable practices and unwavering accountability.
Indeed. Our first environmental oversight is a truly devastating event, one that scarred a pristine wilderness. The Exxon Valdez oil spill in 1989.
March 24, 1989. The Exxon Valdez oil tanker runs aground on Bly Reef, spilling an estimated 11 million gallons of crude oil into Alaska's pristine Prince William Sound. An ecological disaster, immediate, catastrophic. Devastated wildlife, sea otters, bald eagles, and profoundly destroyed traditional livelihoods of countless local residents, especially fishing and indigenous communities.
And the context. The 1980s oil boom often prioritized rapid profits, increased production over stringent safety measures, environmental protection. The Valdez, a crucial link in the Alaskan pipeline system, was operating under what was later found to be lax oversight, inadequate crew rest policies, insufficient safety protocols, all contributing to an environment ripe for disaster.
What went wrong? Human error.
Lack of preparation.
A confluence of factors. Primarily human error and inadequate preparedness. The grounding was attributed to the captain's alleged intoxication, though later cleared of that specific charge and significant crew fatigue. He'd left the bridge in charge of an unqualified third mate navigating tricky waters. Subsequent investigations also highlighted serious deficiencies in Exxon's spill response capabilities. They proved woefully inadequate for the scale of the disaster, led to a much larger environmental catastrophe than might have otherwise occurred.
The consequences for Exxon were immense, billions in fines. Billions in fines, cleanup costs, legal settlements, its corporate image profoundly, perhaps irrevocably damaged. Alaskan fishers, indigenous communities lost traditional livelihoods, cultural practices, faced generational economic, social hardship. Thousands of marine animals perished. Prince William Sound's ecosystem still bears scars decades later, and public outrage catalyzed a powerful surge in environmental activism, led to new, stricter legislation like the Oil Pollution Act of 1990.
This disaster taught unequivocally that safety protocols must always take precedence over commercial profits, right?
Yeah.
Especially in high-risk industries.
Absolutely. It underscored the absolute necessity of robust rapid spill response mechanisms. Prevention is paramount, but effective containment is critical when incidents occur. Furthermore, it significantly propelled the environmental movement, gave it renewed impetus, public support, shifted public consciousness towards greater environmental protection, corporate accountability.
Okay, our next environmental tragedy is a chilling reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and negligence. The Chernobyl nuclear disaster of 1986.
Chernobyl, April 26, 1986. Reactor 4 at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Soviet Ukraine explodes during a flawed safety test, releases vast amounts of radioactive material across Europe, remains history's most severe nuclear disaster, a harrowing event that forever changed perceptions of nuclear energy, government transparency.
And the context was the Soviet Union prioritizing output over safety.
Their ambitious nuclear energy program prioritized output, expansion aiming for energy self-sufficiency, often over rigorous safety procedures, transparency. The specific test at Chernobyl, intended to boost efficiency during a routine shutdown, proceeded with profound disregard for inherent risks, established safety protocols, driven by a desire to complete the test quickly, regardless of consequences.
So what exactly went so terribly wrong? Why did it explode?
Operators deliberately bypassed critical safety protocols, disabled automatic shutdown mechanisms, pushed the reactor to unstable levels. This was compounded by inherent design flaws in the RBMK reactor itself, making it prone to dangerous power surges at low power levels. Subsequent reports unequivocally blamed a combination of this severe human error and systemic institutional failures within the Soviet nuclear regulatory framework, particularly a culture of secrecy, prioritizing production over safety.
The consequences were devastating, far-reaching.
Thousands died or fell critically ill from acute radiation exposure, long-term health effects. Many more suffered chronic illnesses for decades. A vast exclusion zone around the plant persists today, area uninhabitable for humans due to contamination. And the disaster undeniably accelerated reform within the Soviet system, forced greater transparency, contributed to its eventual collapse as the world witnessed the devastating effects of a closed system.
The lessons delivered were chilling, globally impactful. Safety protocols in high-risk industries are sacrosanct.
Must never be compromised for expediency or production goals. Yes, it demonstrated transparency in crisis situations, providing accurate, timely information saves lives, fosters public trust. Crucially, it highlighted nuclear risks demand rigorous global oversight, international cooperation, a shared commitment to safety transcending national borders.
Okay, next, let's go back in time for an ancient environmental tragedy. A poignant tale of self-destruction, a timeless parable. The deforestation of Easter Island, pre-18th century.
Easter Island, Rapa Nui, yes. The ancient civilization there extensively deforested their island, primarily to help construct and transport their iconic Moai statues. This profound environmental oversight tragically triggered ecological collapse, a severe population decline by the time Europeans arrived in 1722, left behind a stark warning, a story remarkably relevant today.
And historically, they thrived for centuries on a lush forested island.
Initially, yes, teeming with resources. But their cultural priorities, particularly the intensive building of those enormous stone moai, consumed natural resources at an unsustainable rate. Their geographical isolation, thousands of miles from anywhere, limited external resources, alternative adaptations once their own were depleted, made self-sufficiency both a blessing and a curse.
So what went wrong? Resource overexploitation.
Classic case. The rate of resource exploitation, especially felling immense trees needed for moving the moai, significantly outpaced the island's capacity for ecological regeneration. Cultural priorities, building more, larger statues evidently blinded the inhabitants to the finite limits of their environment, led to profound resource depletion that ultimately made the island uninhabitable for their complex society.
The consequences were devastating, rapid, population crashed.
Dramatically. Famine, conflict, disease as resources dwindled. Easter Island's ecology hasn't fully recovered even today, remains largely barren, treeless. The historical narrative of the Rapa Nui, their rise and fall, serves as this compelling, somber parable for global discussions on resource overuse, perils of unchecked consumption, consequences of unsustainable practices, a timeless warning.
The lessons are powerfully resonant. Environmental sustainability linked to societal survival.
Inextricably linked. A healthy environment isn't just an amenity, it's the foundation of civilization. It demonstrates how deeply ingrained cultural priorities, even those meant to honor or inspire, can sometimes lead to collective blindness to escalating environmental risks. The profound lesson, even seemingly small localized errors in resource management can, multiplied over time, scale into global warnings for our own planet.
Okay, our final environmental oversight brings us to a major city, mid-20th century, the Great Smog of London in 1952.
The Great Smog, or the Big Smoke, yes. December 1952, a severe smog descends on London. Blankets the city in thick, toxic fog for 5 days. Results in an estimated 4,000 to 12,000 deaths, primarily from respiratory illnesses. This tragedy unequivocally exposed the deadly consequences of unchecked coal pollution, served as a powerful catalyst for modern environmental legislation, transforming public health policy.
And post-WWII, Britain relied heavily on coal. Lax regulations.
Heavily relied on coal for domestic heating industry, relatively lax pollution regulations. A prolonged cold snap, combined with a temperature inversion where warm air traps colder, polluted air near the ground trapped the toxic smoke, created an extraordinarily lethal atmospheric condition. Thick, acrid air. Visibility dropped to mere feet sometimes, visibly deadly.
What went so terribly wrong? Just the coal and the weather.
Direct consequence of exceptionally heavy coal consumption, combined with the complete absence of effective environmental regulations. Pervasive use of low-grade, high-sulfur coal for heating homes, powering industries, filled the air with particulates, sulfur dioxide. The weather merely exacerbated an already perilous situation by preventing dispersal. Subsequent investigations squarely blamed weak environmental policy, failure to prioritize public health over industrial output.
The consequences were immediate, tragic. Thousands died.
Thousands died. Many more suffered severe respiratory illnesses. Lasting health problems heightened vulnerability. The sheer scale of the human cost served as powerful impetus for immediate legislative action, led directly to the landmark Clean Air Act of 1956. The event significantly elevated air quality from a local urban concern to a critical global public health issue, showed environmental disasters can drive fundamental societal legislative transformation.
The lessons seem clear, enduring. Pollution demands robust regulation.
Timely regulation, yes, to protect public health. It demonstrated public health concerns can be a potent, undeniable driver for significant policy change. Galvanized public support for seemingly restrictive laws. Furthermore, it illustrated how profound crises can indeed serve as powerful catalysts for fundamental societal legislative transformation, sparking a broader environmental movement.
Okay, to deepen our global tour of mistakes, let's explore a few more diverse, intriguing examples, underscoring the multifaceted nature of human error and the valuable insights they offer.
Right. We start with a major missed opportunity in music history, one that still makes executives cringe. The Decca Records Beatles' rejection in 1962.
Decca Records, 1962. Infamously rejected the Beatles after an audition, with that now infamous quote stating, "Guitar groups are on their way out." The band, of course, signed elsewhere, became one of the most successful, culturally influential acts of all time. Fundamentally reshaped music, culture for decades. Can you imagine making that call?
Stuff of legends, isn't it? Early 60s music scene generally favored more polished pop sounds, established genres. Decca, a prominent label, made a significant bet against the raw energy, unconventional sound of rock and roll, emerging guitar groups. In doing so, they completely missed a fundamental cultural shift, the burgeoning youth movement on the horizon. Failed to recognize the zeitgeist.
What went profoundly wrong? Misjudged their sound. Conservative bias.
Both. Decca's A&R scouts demonstrably misjudged the Beatles' unique sound, raw energy, immense potential, their decision heavily influenced by conservative bias, clinging to established formulas, profound failure to anticipate emerging trends that would soon redefine popular music globally, saw only what was, not what was about to be. Colossal oversight.
Consequences for Decca Records, astronomical loss.
Arguably lost out on billions in potential revenue over the following decades. Record sales, publishing, merchandising. The Beatles, after signing with EMI's Parlophone, undeniably redefined the music industry, popular culture, set new standards. The story became a legendary cautionary tale in business. Talent scouting reminds everyone of the perils of narrow-mindedness.
The lessons. Groundbreaking innovation often looks unconventional.
Or even unpolished at the outset, yeah. True genius sometimes doesn't fit established molds. It highlights cultural trends can shift with remarkable speed, unpredictability, leaves those stuck in the past behind. Crucially, emphasizes importance of trusting creative intuition, recognizing genuine artistic, commercial potential, even when it doesn't conform to current market expectations.
Okay, next case. A well-known architectural oddity. Started as an error, became a beloved landmark. The Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Ah, Pisa. It's almost comical, isn't it? A colossal engineering mistake, literally leaning into disaster, ends up one of Italy's most beloved, recognized symbols. Imagine the architects throwing their hands up, and centuries later, we flock to see their oops moment.
The Leaning Tower of Pisa, completed 1372, began to tilt almost immediately after construction started, due to unstable soil conditions beneath its foundations. What began as a profound engineering error over centuries transformed into an accidental, beloved architectural icon.
Medieval Pisa was a powerful, prosperous maritime republic, fiercely seeking to rival Venice with grand monuments, architectural feats. The tower's noticeable lean emerged early in construction, presented a persistent puzzle, significant challenge for its builders. They adapted mid-project, trying various methods to correct the tilt as they built higher.
So what was the core structural problem? Why the lean?
Constructed on soft, compressible clay foundations, inadequately shallow for its immense weight, height. Crucially, early attempts to correct the lean during construction paradoxically often exacerbated the problem, led to persistent, increasing tilt over centuries, turned a minor lean into potentially catastrophic structural issue before modern intervention.
Despite the flaw, the threat of collapse, it survived centuries.
Remarkably survived, yes. Attracts millions of tourists annually. Became a universally recognized symbol of Italy. Its unique lean significantly contributed to geotechnical engineering, inspired extensive research into soil mechanics, structural stability, turned a problem into a catalyst for scientific advancement. Pisa's global fame undeniably linked to this accidental marvel, more famous for its imperfection than its original design.
The lessons are enduring. Thorough soil testing is critical.
Absolutely critical for any substantial construction, especially tall structures. It provides an inspiring example of how adaptation, persistence, modern engineering intervention can transform an initial error into a distinct, celebrated asset. Furthermore, it playfully suggests sometimes even inherent flaws, when managed, understood, can evolve into iconic, celebrated features. Teaches us to embrace imperfections.
Okay, next case involves a catastrophic product failure. Wide-reaching consequences shook a major industry. The Firestone tire scandal, late 90s to 2000.
The Ford Explorer Firestone tire issue. Yes, a huge crisis.
2000. Ford recalled 6.5 million Firestone tires after over 270 deaths. Countless injuries were linked to rollovers involving the popular Ford Explorer SUV. The scandal exposed profound corporate failures, severe breakdown in intercompany communication, devastating disregard for safety, deeply impacted public trust in both brands.
The 90s saw this massive surge in SUV popularity. The Explorer became a top seller for Ford, symbol of family adventure, freedom. But behind the scenes, cost-cutting pressures had been exerted on the tire supplier, Firestone, created an environment where safety might have been compromised for cheaper manufacturing.
What went fundamentally wrong? Tread separation, communication failure.
Investigations revealed tread separation in certain Firestone tire models was the direct cause of the crashes, leading to loss of control, rollovers. A government report later attributed the issue to critical design flaws in the tires themselves and a significant lack of effective communication, collaboration between Firestone and Ford. Each company, it seems, had internal data suggesting problems, but failed to share it effectively, act decisively together, allowed a dangerous product to stay on the road too long.
Consequences were immense for both. Billions in costs. Reputational damage.
Massive recall cost billions for both, yes. Respective brand reputations suffered severe, lasting damage. Public trust eroded. Victims' families pursued extensive legal action seeking justice. Regulatory bodies subsequently tightened oversight on tire safety standards, reporting requirements, led to industry-wide changes.
The lessons unequivocally demonstrated safety must always take precedence over cost-cutting.
Without compromise, yes. It powerfully illustrated robust collaboration, transparent communication between partners, especially in complex supply chains, are absolutely essential to prevent widespread crises, protect public safety. Ultimately, transparency, accountability are paramount for rebuilding public trust after such failures. Their absence can have devastating long-term effects.
Okay, our final additional case study. A devastating industrial disaster impacted hundreds of thousands. The Bhopal gas tragedy in India, 1984.
Bhopal. December 2, 1984. A chemical plant there, owned by Union Carbide, a multinational corporation, experienced a catastrophic leak of methyl isocyanic gas. highly toxic, resulted in an immediate death toll estimated between 2,000 to 8,000 people, with an estimated 500,000 suffering long-term health consequences, one of the world's worst industrial accidents.
And India's push for industrialization attracted multinationals. Safety standards maybe weren't enforced?
India's push for rapid industrialization in mid-20th century attracted them, yes, eager to expand into emerging markets. The Bhopal plant, producing pesticides, had reportedly cut costs, neglected safety measures amidst financial losses, desire for higher profits, created a dangerous environment ripe for disaster.
What went so terribly wrong? Poor maintenance, disabled safety systems.
Extremely poor maintenance of plant equipment, yes. Corroded pipes, malfunctioning valves, and the deliberate disabling of critical safety systems that would have prevented or mitigated the release, like refrigeration units meant to keep the gas cool and stable.
Yeah.
Investigations subsequently cited profound corporate negligence as the primary cause, a shocking disregard for human life and safety protocols.
The consequences were catastrophic, continued to reverberate decades later.
Thousands died immediately. Many more continue to suffer chronic health issues, respiratory problems, blindness, neurological damage decades after. The tragedy significantly shaped industrial safety laws, regulations in India, led to much stricter enforcement, globally sparked intense debates on corporate accountability, environmental justice, chemical safety standards, led to reforms in many countries aimed at preventing similar disasters.
This catastrophe delivered a chilling, enduring lesson. Robust safety systems, meticulous maintenance are absolutely non-negotiable in hazardous industries.
Where human lives are at stake, yes. It highlighted critical importance of strong local oversight, regulatory enforcement, ensuring foreign corporations adhere to highest safety standards everywhere. Furthermore, underscored such large-scale crises demand unwavering justice, long-term support for victims. Effects of industrial negligence can last for generations.
Wow. Okay, so reflecting on all these incredible stories, it becomes evident that famous mistakes, despite diverse contexts, often share common threads, don't they?
They really do. Frequently rooted in overconfidence, maybe undue haste, or a failure to heed crucial warnings. Yet, it's precisely these errors that so often spark profound growth, invaluable innovation.
Yes. Looking across them, several common themes emerge again and again. One is undoubtedly overconfidence. From Napoleon's Russian campaign, where his military genius led him to disregard climate and logistics, to NASA's shuttle launch decisions, over-relying on a proven system, ignoring engineer warnings, even Nike's sneaker design failing to research cultural nuances. An excessive belief in one's own judgment or system, ignoring dissent or challenging data, often leads to monumental missteps. This hubris can be blinding.
Another critical one, communication breakdown. Whether it was misheard orders on a Crimean battlefield sending the Light Brigade to doom, or that fundamental unit mix-up on the Mars mission, a lack of clarity, effective information exchange among teams, hierarchies can have devastating consequences. Transparent, unambiguous communication saves lives, preserves projects, ensures everyone's literally on the same page.
And we saw repeatedly the danger of insufficient testing. The tragic outcomes from thalidomide causing birth defects to the Ariane 5 exploding due to reused untested code. It underscores that skipping rigorous validation, testing protocols invites ruin, catastrophic failure, comprehensive scrutiny, real-world trials before deployment are paramount, always. And finally, a recurring theme, the failure to adapt. Blockbuster's inability to pivot with changing market trends, embrace new tech, or the ancient Rapa Nui's tragic refusal to recognize ecological limits as they deforested their island, demonstrates the peril of rigidity, clinging to outdated models. Conversely, Coca-Cola's swift pivot back to classic Coke, or the centuries-long engineering efforts to stabilize Pisa's leaning tower, show how errors, when acknowledged, acted upon with flexibility, can be salvaged, even turned into unique assets. And these lessons aren't just historical footnotes. They have powerful modern relevance for us today. In technology, that Y2K bug panic, though averted, serves as a crucial cautionary tale for today. Emphasizing new frontiers like AI, cybersecurity demands similar vigilance, proactive problem-solving, global coordination to prevent unforeseen systemic failures.
In business, the swift, often brutal public backlash against ads like Pepsi's or D&G's shows how social media now instantly amplifies corporate gaffes, makes cultural sensitivity, rigorous vetting, swift, sincere responses more critical than ever. A local blunder becomes a global crisis in minutes.
For the environment, Easter Island's deforestation echoes powerfully in today's climate change biodiversity loss concerns. An ancient warning about resource depletion, unsustainable practices now on a global scale. These past failures offer vital insights.
And in politics, lessons from intelligence failures like Bay of Pigs or military miscalculations like Gallipoli remain acutely relevant, cautioning against misinformation, hubris, underestimation of adversaries in modern international relations, strategic decisions.
So what are the key takeaways for you, our listener, from this deep dive? First, maybe, test relentlessly. Whether it's a product, a policy, even an assumption you're making. Thorough, continuous testing uncovers flaws before they become catastrophes. Don't assume, verify.
Second, listen to dissent. That person raising concerns, the quiet engineer, the skeptical voice, they might hold the vital key to preventing disaster. Cultivate environments where dissent isn't just tolerated, but genuinely welcomed, rigorously considered, seen as crucial to decision-making.
Third, stay humble. Hubris is that recurring villain blinding leaders, teams to obvious risks. Recognizing our own fallibility, the limits of our knowledge, is a powerful shield against profound error. Acknowledging you don't know everything is the first step to true learning.
And finally, maybe most significantly, learn fast. The ability to acknowledge a mistake, understand its root causes without dwelling on blame, and pivot quickly. Perhaps the most significant lesson. It's not just about trying to avoid errors' entirely impossible task, but about transforming them into catalysts for improvement, innovation, growth.
What a journey. These stories of famous mistakes, collapsing bridges, marketing missteps, they remind us errors are truly humanity's fingerprints. Unique, messy, remarkably telling.
They reveal our innate fallibility, yes, but also our incredible capacity for adaptation, growth. It's not about avoiding mistakes entirely, because that's impossible. It's about how we respond when things inevitably go wrong, how we analyze, adapt, move forward. This deep dive shows that while mistakes are universal, so too is our potential to learn, improve, constantly refining our understanding.
So next time you stumble, flub a presentation, maybe even burn dinner, remember, you're participating in a grand global tradition of occasionally messing up spectacularly. And in those moments, there's always an opportunity for a deep, valuable lesson.
Maybe consider this. What common, seemingly small errors in your daily life or work could, if left unaddressed, escalate into a bigger challenge? What's one takeaway from today's deep dive that you can apply immediately to better navigate your own challenges, transformations?
We hope this deep dive into famous mistakes has given you plenty to think about and has been excellent advanced English listening practice. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel for more fascinating explorations. Thanks for joining us.